electricity
Coming to that?
from one plant. It's about 500 people. It's only
Wow.
about three
I think that
cities.
stuff is really cool.
Well, here's the issue.
They got a whole freeze chamber and heat chamber.
They're
They've
dealing
got
with
it.
so many microns, right, which is way over my head. And I can stay home
Say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just read yesterday where they say Trump's only got 4 years to clean things up and all other Republicans got to help him. So we got 4 years, Scott. 3.5. And then we've got Jerry here. Everybody know Jerry Hickman from Reedy.
How you guys doing?
Good.
You guys ready for this?
Yes.
All right, well, I have the presentation, which is, a summary of the budget, and in the outlook, so we'll have a nice summary page on there as far as, surplus deficit. There's two different summaries we'll see in there. One based off of, the Form 1 request, and then some adjustments from those Form 1 requests, which I can show. There you go. Which I can show you guys. I'll explain any of those adjustments, but we'll focus on the presentation. Obviously, anytime throughout, stop me, ask questions, and then I do have a budget book, what we call, a budget book, for you guys to have as well. It literally has every single, line item that you guys have budgeted. So it's a lot of information in there. I didn't know how much time we would have, but if we do have enough time after the budget discussion, I'd love to discuss the Senate Bill 1 impacts. Just get you guys, fully up to speed, because there are some, changes coming. There's stuff that's going to be doing actually next year, which will show that, which is a little bit of property tax loss. It doesn't affect Brown County as much as compared to a lot of other units that.
About 50,000.
Yeah, and specifically to the general fund and your levy funds, I think the total is like 130. We have that factored in. It grows a little bit in 27. And then, which I can get into that in more detail, but if we have time, I'd really love to go over that. If not, maybe the next session I can kind of go over that as well.
I think it'd be beneficial.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have an understanding.
Especially with the income tax changes as well. That doesn't hit till 2028, but the structure, is changing. I wanted to go over that as well. If not today, maybe the next session. Yeah. Obviously, I know the budget is the main focus today. So we'll dive right in. So we'll quickly go over, the current fiscal, environment, which is mainly those monthly reports that we've been sending to you guys, just showing how things are trending so far throughout the year. Then we'll focus on the 2026 budget. Like I mentioned, we have summaries for those instead of going through every single line item, and then moving forward, some things to consider. I think we focus on some things that would improve your guys' overall credit rating, and then Senate Bill 1 was also in that as well, which obviously is a massive thing to be planning for moving forward. So we'll jump in here, and I handed out the actual hard copy too, because I know that this can be kind of small, but this is. You guys have seen this, but this is for June. We will get financials through July from Julie, and we'll update this so that you guys have this for your next your council meeting on August, or prior to your council meeting on August 18th. I know this is a lot of information. I know you've seen it, but just to summarize again here, we can go through the general fund. So the first section there is really through June 30th. That's actual financials. So straight from Julie's financials there. The beginning cash, year-to-date revenues, year-to-date expenditures, and then the surplus or deficit. So if cash has grown or decreased, and then the current cash balance. So settlement was deposited in, so there's a surplus. Some of the other ones maybe even may have been, and maybe even the one in April may have been, deficit, but that's, prior to, settlement coming in. So this is a better representation as far as how it's going. And so, you guys, cash balance is looking good. On the far right, that's projected for the entire year as far as projected revenues and expenditures. And then your guys' surplus there. Right now we're projecting, which may be conservative, it could be a little bit more than that because expenditures were, we were showing them a little bit higher than the way they were trending, but you'll probably hear me say this numerous times, we like to be conservative. But you guys are projected a surplus in the general fund of $507,000 currently. And then the year-end projected cash reserve balance is 40%. And how we calculate that is we base it off of expenditures. So you take your ending cash balance of almost $4 million and divide it by the 9.8 million in expenditures. So you could operate for 40% of the year without receiving any more revenue. So you guys have mentioned a 15% goal or policy for your major operating funds. And you can see that through there, you guys are above those. Then two other things that you mentioned were getting the 4,700 health insurance trust fund up to $1 million, and then rainy day to 2.5. Obviously, that's still going to take time, but that's something that we can start considering, especially with the general fund looking pretty good as far as making any transfers there or transfers to the health insurance fund. Now that one, if you look at it, the 4,700, we're gonna have to keep an eye on that one this year. Obviously, you don't know how much expenses are gonna come out of there. It depends obviously on claims and things like that. But right now, based off of projected spending, which we look at historically, it could be better, it could be worse, but we may have to transfer more money over there just to get it in the black by the end of the year. So we'll have to watch that one, and then going forward into 2026, we're actually showing more transfers going in there to help fund that at Jim, what was a 50% level for health insurance that we were focusing on in 2026?
The number I gave you, which I think was
2.7 or
2.75 million,
yeah.
that was the low number.
Oh, that's a low number.
That was the low number provided by Apex, and basically what that number represents is, from an actuarial standpoint, there's a 50-50 chance that it could be higher, it could be lower.
Yeah, that's
So if you want to fund it more, which clearly we don't have the money to do it,
Yeah.
it's one of the three things. So I've got the numbers if you want to see them.
Because a big thing also here that helps out, surplus wise in general fund, lit ED, and lit public safety was you guys received the one-time lit supplemental distribution. In future years, we don't project that in there, obviously, because it's not guaranteed. But I think between certified shares, lit public safety, and lit ED, that total was just over 500 grand. So, I mean, that obviously helped tremendously this year. But like I said, we won't show that projected going into the future.
You captured it here in the actuals or projected?
It should be in the actuals, because it's supposed to be distributed out like beginning of June, so it should be in there.
Okay, I'm just curious.
It should be in there for
Jerry, it looks like, I mean, contrary to what we've kind of heard and passed, like, seems like a pretty decent budget. not a train wreck. In terms of our projected savings, I mean, to help us understand the general condition of our budget that you see in 25.
I'd say one thing that's not in here that's important to note is any negative cash balances. Caitlin Schaefer from our office was going through that. That's not projected in here, and that was 250 to 300,000.
That's appropriations?
As far as cleaning up some of
The funds.
some of the funds.
Oh, okay.
Now you should still, surplus there. Trying to think if is there any other major expenditures?
Well,
Yeah, I know that one.
We had, out of those 176 funds, there were a total of 319,000 in negative carryover balances. However, Julie informed me that she's been able to reduce that, I think, to the tune of 60 grand, but it's still, you're still gonna have to pull out, 275,000 out of general fund to clean up that 2024 negative carryover balance.
But in general, as you look at this annual,
It's able to reduce it some more.
looking at our projected cash reserves and kind of end of year projection, I mean, what should the council think about the work we've done, where we are right now, based on what you're seeing in terms of its,
I mean, as far as your cash reserve goals, obviously your operating funds, the reserve goals, you're meeting those. The concern would be, and obviously it's a very, very big expense and an unknown depending on, is the health insurance trust fund and getting that. And then, outside of that, your rainy day fund, it's at the very, very bottom there. I mean, it's, 231,000. So, I mean, anything major that could wipe out some of this cash. I mean, your guys' capital funds are in pretty good shape. Got some good cash there. And really, 2026, budget, there are, a couple deficits, but for the most part, I think, the work that you guys have done, department heads, Julie, as far as the direction that you told them, with salaries, keeping those the same. I think that was definitely needed because their revenues are in pretty good shape. And it was just a matter of kind of limiting those expenditures for maybe a year, and especially with the Senate Bill 1 stuff coming on and some of that, unknown, because anything with that, like we have projections in there, but any kind of AV change, because we have to have assumptions, in those when we go out those many years, anything that changes, so any could drastically change, those impacts. So as far as being, as conservative as you can be going into, 2026, which I believe you guys, have. But I just know that there's other goals that you guys have with, the reserves, with the health insurance and rainy day and, building up cash even further for capital items in case you want to, avoid any short-term debt and maybe focus on spending cash on that capital. So it's just a matter of reaching those goals. But as far as your operations currently and those reserves, I mean, 40%'s, pretty good, but obviously you want to maintain that, and also a lot of times when you're transferring to, rainy day, it's going to come from general fund. So you want to make sure that you can, maintain that while you're also transferring. But like overall, I mean, it's not bad. It's pretty good. And
As long as we don't compare it to anything else.
Yeah,
but what I do is like compared to the past, right? Like where we came from.
No,
you gotta keep
this out.
You gotta keep going. To Jim's point
But
here.
and I didn't hand this out, and I'm not gonna address it. If y'all want it, I'll email it to you. There's 92 counties. There are 31 counties in the state of Indiana that make up 7.5% of the population, 512,000 people. That's from 25,000 or 24,999 all the way down to the bottom. Okay? So using Gateway, using the 12/31/2024 general fund, and all I looked at was the general fund. I wanted to know how Brown County ranks in that. See that small number here, which is 40%? We rank 28 out of 31 at the bottom. Okay, so to give you an idea, just, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. Union County, which is Liberty, Indiana, got a population of 6,952 people. They have 132% in that column right here. Where ours is 40, theirs is 132.
Yeah. Well, Jim, I mean, I understand that, and I think, and Jerry, you tell the council, if we had 132% cash balance in the general, what would you recommend we do?
If you had 130 some percent.
Let me ask you a different way. Is there a maximum percent of reserves that you typically aim for in funds like the general that you don't want to hold a year and a half of taxpayer dollars in a reserve fund? Typically, you don't want like tons of cash coming out of yours because that's taxpayer money that you are taking from taxpayers' pockets and putting in a bank account and sitting on it. I don't think that's what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to maintain a healthy balance. So I'm trying to.
I'd say usually we'll say, around like 50%, but.
Max, right?
Yeah, and then it just depends. Like if you have maybe you don't want to potentially issue debt for certain projects, then maybe you're going to build up cash and it's going to get, much higher than, maybe even 100%. It just depends on if you're going to, try to save for.
Yeah, let me go down that path. If we were saving for capital projects, which we are, but we had a boatload of money in the general, you would probably advise us to drop it into the rainy day or the health fund, right? Not let it sit. You wouldn't build a capital fund in the general fund, right? You'd push it into the rainy day fund.
In your guys' scenario, obviously with your guys' goals of getting, the health insurance trust fund to 2.5 million and rainy day to $1 million, then yeah, instead of continuously building it, higher and higher, I would try to
put it to work, right?
Increase.
Well, the thing is that CCD fund and the GO bond are interlinked.
Yeah.
The reason we have the GO bond is because we don't have the CCD. So putting money in CCD is not a waste. It's preventing.
No, it's long-term savings.
Yeah.
That's what you do it for, yeah. Yeah, the GO bond, I guess I don't, GO bond and the CCD are linked.
Well, and capital, as capital, that we got the GO bond for capital projects because we don't have a balance in the Cuba Cap fund.
I would say that.
Yeah,
So saving, putting the extra money into the Cuba Cap fund is not a waste.
No,
It's preventing
I agree with you.
future debt.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know that we can't
But the thing
put
is,
money in the CCD, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it levies its own tax.
But you don't typically put money in it, do you? Like from outside other than the levy, or?
No, typically.
Okay, yeah, we put it in like rainy day, or.
Right.
You're right, someplace we have it for long term.
Yeah, CCD, like,
But that
it
was just an example to.
Yeah,
The point you're saying, I know, I'm the same way. If we're saving money, if we're building up a very large fund, then we are overtaxing people.
Yes.
But, we also have, there are certain expenditures that we have, and that's why the capital improvement plan is so important.
And that's what I was just getting ready to mention. I know that, we were wanting to get through this budget and then I have it later on. Because as far as, your credit rating and improving that's something else that they look at. And I know that's been discussed. Obviously, we want to make sure the budget looks, really good. But then that's another, big step, after we get this budget adopted would be, just getting, all the capital, together, the requests, so that we can structure this and see what major projects are coming, to make sure, everything is funded. And depending on those projects and what you guys are needing, it could drastically change, like, hey, these cash reserves where they need to be. We just really need to know some of those big ticket items so that we can plan for them and make sure there's, available funding for it.
What specific areas should we address to increase our credit rating?
I have a slide here, and
Later on?
yeah, but
Okay.
I think this is only like 10 slides, 9 or 10 slides. Because there is some low hanging fruit, but I mean, a big one is cash. Cash is king. Like, you improve, increase cash, and obviously that's gonna help, but there's some other things too that you guys could, address, and a lot of them is policy related, getting policies in place. We talked about a lot of this, I guess, on that last slide, as far as some of these, projected deficits, which 6 funds, we're not including the Geo Bond Projects Fund, because after that initial year of getting all the bond proceeds, obviously it's going to be spent down every year. Spending, because it's not going to have any other revenues coming in. Mentioned the Health Insurance Trust Fund, we'll have to keep an eye on it, because that's another thing with, where more money has to be transferred from, general, validity, anything like that, depending on, that expense level in that fund and how it works out the rest of the year. We may have to transfer some more money over there, even just to get it in the black, let alone have any extra
I think
cash.
we've had to do that every year for the past, Darren, millennium, forever. Yeah, okay, so but we're getting closer, I think, to kind of closing the gap. We're, if we're already projecting here in the year $34,000.
Well, right now, based off of, and we were looked at historical spending, and obviously it could be worse,
Changing market.
could be better, but we would have to transfer, based off of historical spending, at least another 35 grand. That
Yeah.
34 is a negative.
A negative, yeah, but I mean, we were seeing 500,000.
A lot more than that, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of why I say you got to look at the historical context of where we've come from, which is in the dirt. I mean, we were negative as negative could be, right? Hundreds of thousands.
Negative
red.
600,000 at one
Negative
point.
600K, and that
We
one
ran
fund.
$600,000 negative carryover balances when I came on board
Yeah.
in '23 for the
That's-
previous 4 years.
right.
Yeah.
And we were written up by the Indiana State Board of
Yeah.
Accounts.
That is
We've
correct.
changed it to
Yeah, we've got-
2% within target,
It's
and
no longer a
so,
bull in a china shop,
It's-
at least
it's-
we've got a leash on it, so
Yeah.
it's not running wild.
absolutely, and that doesn't happen overnight. I mean, we can't just look at this and say, oh, we need 2.5 million in the health trust. It's not gonna happen in 12 months. It's gonna take 3-4 years to build that up over time, and so, but what we see, if we're going from 500,000 negative to 34,000 negative over 2 or 3 years, that's a major improvement, right? And that's a very good thing, so we gotta kind of keep that context.
And that's also something that's a little bit out of our control. I mean,
Right.
we just happen to have gotten lucky that we haven't had major claims. I mean, that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and
When we poured money into it, I mean, we budgeted a lot, we poured a lot of money into that health fund over previous years to balance it, right? And so I think we're making good progress
No,
on
this is
that.
just so we understand our history and we have an accurate history. The only thing that bailed us out on the group medical, and Julie can attest to this, was that, and actually I believe it was Jackie Clemens and Julie that found it, our general fund revenue went in '22 from 8.2 million to 11,148,000. And the reason it bounced is that Julie and Jackie Clemens found, I think it was lit revenue that we weren't aware of that was sitting there. I don't know if that was,
700 or
that was for
600K.
21, 22, and 23 combined. So because of that influx of income tax revenue that we did not know we had, we were able to use that to show up the 4,700 account. Had it not been for that money, that one-time chunk of change coming in, we'd have hit the wall in the end of 2023.
We
Well,
haven't come up with the right calculation.
Yeah, right. Well, council prioritized it, put it where it needed to be.
Hopefully, I don't know if Julie's got any more of that coming down the pike or not, but
Yeah. Good decision.
I think the buyout helped too.
Yeah.
Actually, it did. I hate to say it, but it really did.
The employee.
Yeah.
The employee.
what year was that
buyout.
now? What year was that done?
21, I think.
I think it was 21 too, 21 or 22. That and some people retiring.
Specifically, how did it help? Medical insurance wise or
Medical,
just?
Yes.
medical,
Yes.
it helped, it reduced our medical
Reduced
costs.
our medical costs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the old deal.
yeah, several things. Good job, good job. What else, Jerry?
So, on the next slide, I think this is what you were asking about, Gary. Some things that improve, like your guys' overall credit rating. Some of them are, pretty obvious ones, but, avoid negative cash balances, stay within, and these will help on obviously audit reports and whatnot, but stay within, any approved budgets, so no overspending of budgets, even if you do have cash in there. Any kind of monthly financial, reviews, based off of, any S&P call that I've been a part of and filling out all the paperwork, and it's, how often do you guys, see, financials, see spending, things like that. So, having monthly, those summary reports that we send are good. Obviously, your financial plan, but another piece of that being the capital improvement plan as well, which I know that you guys are, all about, and we'll get moving forward on that. And then formally adopting, policies, and I can send, examples that I can talk to our finance team, because they're the ones that kind of spearhead this. But that's some of the low-hanging fruit that you guys can do is it has to be formally, adopted, and not just, just mentioning it, but like, the cash reserve, I know that you guys have talked about that. In my knowledge, I don't know if anything's changed, but as far as, 15% for major operating funds and 2.5 million for health and insurance, and then 1 million for rainy day, but formally adopting that stuff, or a debt policy, investment policy, any kind of policies that you guys, could put in place, and follow. And then, building cash reserves. Obviously, cash is extremely important as well, as far as in the credit ratings. And I know that you guys have mentioned, obviously that's going to help reduce any dependency on, any short-term debt in the future. But that's definitely going to coincide with the capital improvement plan as far as building that cash and making sure there is enough cash for any of these projects that you guys have, coming down the pike. So. And all of these, I mean, the hardest one would be building cash reserves. These other ones are pretty straightforward.
Seems like it.
And then, I mean, it's obviously you're limited to how much revenue you guys are going to be receiving. So obviously have to pay attention to your guys' budget and expenditures in the future, but those first 5 there are really the low-hanging fruit. And then the next slide, sorry, this is really, really small. I wanted to show you an example. General fund, being the main, the big fund out of your guys, it's roughly what, 50% of your budget, probably close to it, somewhere around there. So I know a while back I went over, property taxes and income tax, and focused on that. There are a lot of other revenues that come in. They're not as high as those. You can see the net property tax, the local levy freeze, which that's lit, and then towards the middle there you can see the other large amount, which is the certified shares, and then right below it, it's the lit supplemental. You can see that does make up the majority of your guys' revenues, but there are other revenues that are receipted into the general fund. Some other bigger ones towards the bottom, which we are kind of, so the far right column is the projections. So that 10,000,058 is linked over to our summary page. One thing, Jim, since I think our discussions, it was around 10 million what our revenue was. we were showing income tax only growing like 2 or 3% next year. The state sent out the total pot that grew for the county, and it actually grew like 5.5%. So it grew a little bit more than what we were showing. And this, we found this out between like our conversation. So
So the state's saying that the wages within Monroe and Bartholomew County, Jackson and Johnson have increased at 5%.
within anybody living within Brown County and paying.
Yeah, they can work outside of Brown County, they don't work. in-
Yeah, correct. They have to live in, yeah. So that
So the
that
state's
grew,
saying that our labor cost increased at about 5%.
yeah, that grew a little bit.
Not labor cost, but
Yeah.
Income tax is taxed on labor.
Private sector labor
Private
cost.
sector, yeah, private sector pays.
Private sector labor cost
Right.
is
Yeah.
increases
So
in
wages
tax
went
revenue.
up.
More people working,
I
I
mean,
guess.
in other words,
It's two
either
different
more
ways
people
of looking
working
at
or
the same thing.
income's increasing or both, but it's just people
Could be
making more
both.
money,
It's
right?
both,
It's people
yeah.
making 5.5% more money, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is,
Shows up in our economy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, I mean, that was good news. So that increased, not a whole lot, around 50 grand, but every little bit helps.
So I have a question on this. I mean, you know, the Forms ones as they were submitted, you know, I'm showing 10,371,000. You know, we're showing 10,058,000 down there. What's the probability that we end up at the end of 26 at a number that's say 10.5? I mean, could we, but what's the margin of plus or minus? Is it 5%, 10%, the delta? Because this is, that number, that $10 million number is a forecast. So what's the probability that we wind up, you know, could we end up with a 3%, 4%, 12% revenue? So we end up at the end of year 2026, let's say 10.5. So
Oh, the revenue
yeah,
increasing above that?
because we're right on the edge. Right now, if I look at the 10,058,000 number, right? And then I look at the
Yeah.
total Form 1s as submitted in the general fund, we're upside down. Yeah, so we're we're spending $320,000 more than we're taking in 2026, and that's without any additional appropriations.
Yeah, and
So,
one, I would say, which we have highlighted, we don't include it, but you can see historically,
the property tax number,
the orangish one, lit supplemental, I mean, we don't project that in there, but you guys, you can see historically have received that, you know, at least the last, 4 years.
that lit supplemental, is that number that the state holds back, and then they look at it, and then they get a decision whether.
On the
they're gonna
balance, like if
submit
it's
that
over,
number.
15%.
Pardon me?
If the balance is, they say anything over 15%, that's the balance that they keep in that, the trust account. So
Right.
say you're at 20%, they'll distribute out the 5% as a one-time
Is there any way that we
distribution.
can find out from the Department of Revenue what those numbers are?
No, not until it happens.
Is that right? So they
Yeah.
keep us from
It's a secret.
Secret,
Surprise!
yes.
Well, you got people in the,
Here's your money that we're giving you, you know?
you gotta make the income before they can tell you, I mean, right, so.
But if you look back historically, 22, 23, 24, 25, there's been,
It's historic.
130 to
136,
620,
288, 628,
so maybe 300, yeah, and you ended at 310.
310.
That's
So I
a
mean,
pretty,
that kind of covers your difference.
So we could end up at 10.5 somewhere in there for 2026, yeah. Which would put us in the black for the year. Not for a lot, but
And
Put our
another,
head above water.
barely.
thing, you guys usually hit unused appropriations, so you don't spend 100% of every single line item. And I have it on the next slide here, what it's historically at, what we're projecting it at, which we were projecting it lower than what it's been historically, but we show that as well. The ones that I want to keep an eye on down below here is and we dwindled them down some, is earnings on investments and deposits, and then other receipts. And it looked like other receipts had some interest going into it as well. So you can see the two columns between the green, supposed to be green bars there. the 2025 projected versus what you've received to date. So the $626,503, you guys, that we have in there, you guys are on pace to receive over that through half of the year. And then the one down below, we're projecting it, around 500, which is you're on pace for. Now moving into the future, we actually bumped off 100 grand of the other receipts and then brought the 626 down to 600, just to try to be a little bit conservative there as well. But those are two line items or revenue codes that I really want to pay attention to as well, moving forward.
But those are, kind of vague line item titles. I assume it's like kind of a catch-all for weird stuff, or how do you?
Yeah.
Pretty stable projection, or are these kind of like unanticipated things that happen?
Well, a lot of what is in that earnings and investments, is, interest, and then a lot of what is in other receipts that's coming in monthly is interest as well. So, that's why, you never know what rates and things are gonna do, so that's why I just wanna keep, an eye on them. That's why we decreased it some, I guess, right around $125,000, maybe a little bit more, because the earnings on investment one is trending over what we're currently projecting for the year. But it's just another one that, the uncertainty, with rates and things like that, what they're gonna do, we're just trying to be a little bit conservative there as well. But for the most part, throughout most of these revenue codes, we look, historically at, how they've been trending over the years. And then try to average that out, make sure there's nothing, projected on the high end, because, obviously we would rather be on the low end, and if it comes in higher, great, similar to Lit Supplemental, if that comes in, next May, beginning of June, great, but it's just kind of icing on the cake if you can get your budget where it needs to be, and then all of a sudden, hypothetically, you get some cash from
Earnings on investments and other, all that simply is our average daily balance in the 5 banks that we work with out of the treasurer's office. So it's calculated based on our average daily basis, and whatever short-term interest rates are, we're directly influenced by the Federal Reserve. So if the Federal Reserve reduces that, highly probable they're going to do that, right? And what's going to happen is that interest income will drop depending on what our average daily balance is. I don't know what we carry on an average of banks.
Any insight, Jim, on
What kind of information do they,
innkeeper's
like,
tax
do you
to the
have on
state and not have
any of that,
quote, any
whenever they,
idea of what that
I
might be?
didn't know if you have anything that you could provide us.
Because I just want to make sure that, going into the future, I don't project,
Yeah, because they're paying us out.
too much interest revenue or earnings on investments.
Sorry, I didn't hear half of what you said.
The earnings on the investment and the interest revenue that you guys get.
Maybe a question for Andy, the
Yeah,
treasurer.
treasurer.
You
Okay.
got one little
Yeah.
short gap.
Let's have you pop in and see her.
And she does have, sheets that she can get for you, or for me to send to you.
Because with that being such, a large amount, and obviously if something drastic changes there, I just want to make sure that,
Yeah.
which we are showing it going down some next year, but
We can get a report on it every month. We should.
We can.
We probably, would be a bad idea. It would not be a bad idea.
No, we talked about that before.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a
It's
bad idea.
like, Julie, do you know anything about that? What he's talking about in terms of getting the average daily balance on our funds?
That's a fund report, but you're talking about an average overall,
Yeah, because the banks are only going to credit that interest rate based on average balances. And I think Andy told me, and I'm pulling from 2023, we've got 5 banks, right? Because she's got to be careful, because it's short-term capital, right? She can't go out
Spread it.
and buy options in the market.
Junk fund, yeah, penny stock.
Try to jack the yield up on it. Right, but that wouldn't be, this would be a good idea to kind of look, because Jerry, one thing I will share, Jerry and I did talk, okay? This is more of a strategic planning type of concept. But if you look at the average daily balances, you know, in the treasurer's office, you look at the Fed funds rate, you know, and you can kind of project where interest rates are going to go, right? And if we do have 600 grand worth of interest, you know, should we take that 600 grand and put it in the rainy day? You know,
I don't know that we.
well, we pull it out. In other words, Darren, of the 10 million, right?
That's what I
600 grand of it is the interest. Okay. So what we do is we say, okay, we're gonna pull X amount of dollars out of the general fund every year, put it in the budget, because it's not in the budget, right? I mean, we're not pigeonholing any money into the rainy day to build the rainy day, so that hopefully at some point in time, you know, in the future, that we don't have to go borrow $4 million every 4 years, because we don't have any money to pay for our capital improvements. So if you're, you know, to me, if you're gonna frame this in the context of the taxpayer, when we have to go out and borrow money, you know, I think we paid $80,000 to $100,000 to underwrite that 4 million for 4 years, right? And then we've got to pay the interest on top of that. And I believe there's a separate calculation that the property tax, we're all paying that out of our pocket, that additional cost to borrow that 4 million. Whereas if we had the cash to pay, you know, if we could pay cash for
The
it.
problem is, we don't have
I
cash,
know.
which is why we had to do the
Well, I
bond.
know, I get that, but I'm saying, you know, if you look down the road, 5,
And
6.
the only way to get the cash to replace that bond is to permanently raise the tax level up to what we have for the bond.
Well, we're already at a max tax levy, so I mean, we can't go.
You know what I'm saying? But the only way to replace, the reason we have the bond
We
is
can
because
cut
we don't
expenses,
have.
you see, you can cut expenses.
But that's the game they play. We can't raise our tax level, but we can go over here and take the levy on the bond.
Right.
Which is like,
Right, just put it on your credit
let's
card.
throw some interest at somebody.
If I don't have any money in my bank, I'm gonna go throw it on my credit card.
But without that, we'd be.
Oh, we'd be in trouble. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
we'd-
that's the only
we'd be
way
in
we
trouble.
can function
Right,
as.
right, yeah, they wouldn't have any air conditioning at the jail.
No, and then we'd be sued, and then you'd have to come up with a couple
Right,
of
yeah.
dollars more.
Right.
Yeah, more taxes.
In a roundabout way, as far as the interest and, you know, into the rainy day fund, in a roundabout way, yeah, you could do that, but it would be, I'd still obviously receive anything
Right.
into the general fund, because then, you know, and make sure with that revenue and the expenses you have in place that you're, you know, if you're building, you know, cash and you're good, then you can do a transfer from rainy,
Right now, we
general to
do
rainy
it.
day.
We don't have the money to do it right now.
Yeah.
One question on the net property tax there in the yellow, the second going down. What was the reason for the jump from 22 to 23, or is that a drop from 21 to 22?
What's he talking about?
Here it goes from 1.6 million
Net
to
property tax,
3.7 and
yellow.
2.9.
Yeah, that's a big delta.
Yeah.
It could have been where it wasn't made, the
Because surely
December,
our property
the,
tax didn't double.
the December settlement. So the top part there, so if we work our way down, property taxes,
Uh-huh.
that is the certified levy. And then you have circuit breaker, and then net, is, you know, property taxes net of circuit breaker. But then down below, that is actual information, from, you know, the annual report financials. So
I was looking for
what
numbers
probably
that add up to-
happened there is you can see that 2022 is significantly lower. December settlement, probably in 2022, wasn't received by the end of the year and then
So that's,
carried over
so
to
that showed up in
2023.
2023.
Yeah,
So it's a timing.
yeah, this is the timing issue.
I figured that's probably.
So in 23, there's.
In case anybody else had a question about that.
Yeah.
In the 23 number is 22 property tax.
That's why you do the 3-year average and look at the actuals and kind of.
The property tax piece is it's much easier outside of dealing with the Senate bill impact, because you're limited to, you know, this is, the general fund falls under the max levy, and it only grows so much. We have a max levy, you know, tab within our financial plan to project out, you know, the certified levy, you know, moving forward. So the certified levy portion of it is much easier to project out. And prior for you guys, circuit breaker, it's minimal, you didn't have much, so So your guys' net property taxes are pretty much your property tax, or your certified levy, but moving forward, obviously, the Senate Bill 1, impact, which luckily it's not substantial for you guys in 2026, so.
That's probably what, yeah, if you take the 1.6 and
Compared to everybody
3.7, average those, you get 2.6 for each year, which puts that right on track, so, okay.
All right.
So the Form 1 request, and Jim, I looked at your numbers, and then we pulled Form 1s, and then Julie's, and we were within, I think it might have been rounding and stuff like that, but we were all really, really close, just to give you an idea for the general fund. But on this one here, this is the Form 1 request, so the budget requests from department heads. So we pulled that information, put it in our budget book, put it in the plan, and this is your major operating funds. We show the budget increase / decrease over what was requested in 2025, and then the 2026 projected revenues. That comes from our financial plan. So I showed you that example of the general fund. So we saw that 10,058,000. That's how that works. And then I mentioned projected unused appropriations. Historically, we have your 3-year average of 6%. We brought that down to 3%. So historically you spent more or under your budget more than what we are showing. So with what was requested, those projected revenues we were showing, projected conservative unused appropriation amount, we're looking at a projected deficit of $148,857 in the general fund, and then we go ahead and show you the projected cash balance. On the next one, I added the cash reserve percent as well, so we'll be able to see that moving forward. But you can see going through here, so Lit ED, and we have some changes on the next ones, which I'll explain. But Lit ED, there's a big surplus there. You guys had.
Can you see that?
Sorry, I should have said economic development.
Oh, yeah.
So the very next one, based off of, it's the second economic.
Oh,
development.
just economic development. Okay.
So based off what was requested and the projected revenues, you guys had changed your rates. You decreased your levy freeze rate a little bit, increased Lit ED. So that was great for obviously this year, 2025, and moving forward. So you have a big surplus there under the purple, the 711,000. And then, going through here, some of these other ones.
Jerry, sorry. Economic development, 11112.
Yes.
What's our annual expenditure typically on that? I mean, it's kind of a floating target, isn't it? It's not. It is. I'm just wondering, that seems like a pretty big balance.
It's kind of a change jar that we grab.
Well, we can do it for anything, right? We can spend it, so it's not operational and salaries, I don't think is.
Anything.
Yeah,
It's been changed to, you can use it for anything.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jared, let's move on, because it is just kind of a.
Which we've got something on the next one for the Lit ED as well. Then, the convention visitors and tourism, based off what was requested, and we bumped up the revenues, slightly there as far as it going from
5 to 8.
And then some of these other ones, CCD, there's a surplus. We have an idea for that as well. Health First Indiana, that's one which after this meeting, Julie and I are going to discuss, the budget and the Form 3 and stuff. That's one that I want to look at with you a little bit more, as far as I want to make sure that what we have in there and what you have, and because it was a little confusing.
That's one that was targeted for a decrease from the state, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Jerry, back to Convention Visitors Bureau. One thing we've got to, in your projections include is having these meetings about how to put the innkeeper's tax, tourism generated dollars towards taxpayer relief in our budget. And generally the group thinks 250,000 of taxpayer relief per year, growing, I think, we're still talking about it, but is what is going to result in the tourism industry's kind of taxpayer relief that we're trying to negotiate there.
Not growing as a percentage of it, but growing on an annual basis along with all the front end.
Inflation and growth and all that. So, Gary, Darren, you've been on this, like, I think our consensus is it's just a fuzz too early to count on 250 coming out of our general fund, taxpayer funded, you know.
I don't necessarily agree it's too early. That's
I know.
what we're targeting and that's what we're saying. That was part of the whole.
I know, I kind of,
That was part of the whole
Projects that will-
increase was that there was going to be $250,000 worth of
taxpayer relief.
Of the total innkeeper's tax, the
Yeah.
8%, 12.5% of that was going to go to taxpayer relief for tourism-related expenses.
So, part of that, yeah,
we incur.
part of that's just inform the council of that, and we are obviously
I
going
mean,
to,
I want to see that as a set,
Yeah.
as a set number.
so it should come off our, where, can you help us figure out where to put 250 out? And it's going to come out of like Parks and Rec, County Fair, Historical Society, and some other operational funds.
The question is doing it year after year. We don't know if we have that many projects in the books that we.
Well-
There's maintenance and upkeep of the fairgrounds.
Whether
there's maintenance
staffing,
and upkeep
operation, yeah.
of the
Some of these buildings could
And if
probably
we-
be
and if-
taken care of in that, right?
And the question being, I mean, it was thrown out that we can't use it for salaries.
That's
But-
not right.
I don't, if that's the case, then the CVB cannot
Yeah.
use what
Well,
they
yeah,
get from the
that's a good
CVC
question.
to cover
Have
the
any
rest of
answers?
the
It's
Say on
not
that,
right.
Susan?
salaries.
They've done it for 30 years.
I mean, they say we can't use the salaries, but CVB is paying salaries.
That's not true.
Right, I mean, I don't understand that. Again, your language in your statute is very broad, anything for the promotion and development of tourism within the county, so,
And any salary that is part of the upkeep and maintenance of
right.
Deer Creek. or
The
Deer Run.
maintenance,
Yeah.
right,
Deer Run.
your parks department,
Very-
maintenance
So-
people potentially fits in there.
Yeah, so I mean, that's something we could set and establish
Yeah, and we need to.
reliably
so-
every year
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
relieve
Taxpayer
taxpayer
funded
expenses.
things that are,
For
and so the
tourism.
other thing, the second piece, and then Jerry, I'm looking forward to your kind of, and I think we got to continue working on this, but there's the 250,000 in taxpayer relief that the county, you know, will get operational annual kind of tourism related expenses that typically taxpayers have paid for, okay, for tourism related items. And then separately from that, this is really probably maybe the bigger benefit to taxpayers out of the innkeeper's tax.
The economic development.
Well, there's that.
25% of the innkeeper's tax now, the total, is going toward economic development.
Well,
which
hold
is
on,
going
hold
to
on.
be-
I guess what I'm trying to get to is there are project-related expenses, capital-related expenses like ball field lights, ADA safety improvements at our fairgrounds, that are taxpayer-funded projects that can now also, on top of the $250,000 a year in innkeepers' collections to the taxpayer relief funds, we can also, on top of that, capture major capital improvements for county properties and deferred maintenance projects that are tourism related. So there's kind of an additional windfall of tourism benefit to taxpayers through that as well. So we got to work through all that. We've already got a queue. I think Kevin Patrick, commissioners, obviously working really hard on these things. We've got several projects already queued up, like ball field lights is the obvious example. It's 10 years overdue, right? We have never been able to fund it with taxpayer dollars. Now we have a fundable project with cash that not a local taxpayer spends 8 pennies on. So really good thing there. I appreciate the tourism industry's support on these things. I think it's important for taxpayers. I think it's a good project and it benefits locals as well. So that's that, but we need to build in that 250.
So,
Yeah.
as
Part of
far-
the problem with that is that we operate on an austerity budget. We can throw additional money at certain things, which would benefit the taxpayers, but it doesn't necessarily come right out of our budget.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, that project is a different thing. The problem is, like, if those ball field lights fail, they're probably pretty close. Like, what do we do, close the ball fields or have additional liability and risk on the county taxpayers? So it's kind of, there is a benefit there, but you're right,
It is a county expense because it's something, like you said, for years, we've been looking at how to come up with funding to replace the lights at the ball fields. And that's just an expense that we no longer have to look at and plan for.
We didn't have to fund because we didn't have it.
Right. Well,
but we we're gonna have
We
to
do
fund
have
it
it. I
to
mean,
more
it's
close
been-
the ball fields.
It's been sitting there, it's been lying there for years.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah,
So, I
Can
mean,
we
it's
get
an
back to the
expensive-
current issues, please?
this is a current issue.
Because I really need to get back to my
Yeah, it's a
office.
current issue, it's capital projects, new funding.
So do we need to include an extra 250,000 in that?
Not yet.
And then try to
Not
find
yet.
something in the
Not
general
yet,
fund that can be
because we haven't-
shifted, or?
Well, that's, to target stuff in the general fund that can be shifted to that $250,000 block would be great.
So
I
that,
think we are there. I mean,
Well, we need to specifically target those,
well, I
because
guess,
we haven't done that yet.
I guess what we can do, and because Julie and I are gonna, work together after this on the Form 3, the notice to taxpayers that has to be, submitted tomorrow. We can go ahead, because you can advertise high, and so we can add 250 grand to that fund's budget, and then,
I think we should. I mean, it's
That-
it's there, we've been working for months to get it
and if you
there.
don't wanna, and then that'll give us time to then, look through the general fund and see what can be pulled over there, so at least gives us that option to do it.
Yeah,
If you guys
Kevin's
don't do
working
it,
on it.
because that'll be,
But then that 250,000 has to shift out of the convention and visitors line,
Yeah.
correct?
That's what he's gonna advertise higher.
Yeah.
yeah, all right.
So he'll shift it around and then it'll free up. And then ultimately, when we went, when council said, hey, we need to ask for public safety funds out of innkeeper's tax dollars, we were not allowed to do that by the Senate committee members. And so this is a way for us to offset, still get the taxpayer relief. And then Jerry, I mean, when that 250,000 comes off our burden here, we want it to kind of be put back into public safety where possible, right? I mean, I think that's our goal as a council, is to bolster public safety. And Patrick, I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to the sheriff at all, but he's very interested in those funds. He did not ask for additional funding. I think you should talk to him. I think you're the liaison with the sheriff's office. You're one of them. So, I mean, I think,
Jim's the other one. Yeah, talk to Brad.
so, okay, you two were the sheriff's liaison, yes.
Just on
Oh.
this issue, I'm just gonna toss this in. Stipends for the 2026 budget, there are $246,850 in stipends. Okay? Of those stipends.
Is that countywide or is it just
It's everybody, it's all 180 employees.
including the sheriff's side?
It's everything, every employee that works for Brown County. So of that 250, whatever it is, 250 grand, of that, and then we'll keep in mind, you gotta go dispatch has got $25,456 in stipends, the sheriff's deputy's got $103,424, as you can add this up, and then the jail's got another 150, or $55,390.
$186,000.
You're about $180,000 in stipends that are currently being paid out to the jail dispatch this year.
Sheriff had talked about a possible new source of revenue of your.
Yeah, that's a whole separate subject for a different time.
Is it still
It's a whole separate subject.
Well, it seems to have fallen
That's
asleep.
a whole,
Okay.
yeah.
That's all I was asking. If it's
No,
still-
right,
If it's
we're
still,
right in line.
if it's still something being changed.
It's something that needs to be addressed, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jerry, can you, especially if we've got to do this tomorrow, I mean, I guess, what do you need from council to put this 50 in and then?
We can just add, we'll get it taken care of, and it at least gives you that option if
Yeah.
you don't, if you don't want to do that.
Great.
I guess, jump down, lit public safety, that has a deficit. We're not assuming any unused there, so we're pretty conservative, but it's got a deficit of 512,000. That's mainly due to the 500 grand for the 911 contract next year. That's why, or otherwise that would have been pretty balanced there. But that is coming out for next year, so that's worth noting. NVH restricted, I mean, that money is restricted for, paving such projects, so that's not too, concerning to have a deficit there. You still have, really nice cash balance. And then the health insurance trust fund. Obviously, the way this sits and, funding that 2.7, which there's a 50-50 chance it could be worse or better, you'd have to do something. I mean, it's not funded, so.
Jerry didn't mean that to interrupt, but this doesn't reflect it.
It's the next one.
Go to the next one.
I just wanted to show how it was turned, how everything was turned in, because
That's
there's just a couple other changes as well.
And so Jerry, I mean, before, one thing I think we've got to understand, and I'm trying to make sure I get it right here, these are department requests in their Form 1s by fund. And this is just a regurgitation of what the departments put in writing, requesting from funds. This is not the council's creation. This is kind of a conglomeration of a lot of different requests that have to be filtered right by us as council. This is where our report,
Yeah,
I think, very much
Form 1
begins.
requested budget by all the departments.
Yeah, and so this is not where this ends up.
No.
I'm guessing. And our council hasn't put their hands on this yet, and that's where our work very critically begins, is taking this and saying, okay, now we have to adjust and take funds from different funds to make the budget work overall. We have massive surpluses in some areas, massive deficits in others. This is just, and so now we have to clean it up, right? And I think that's hopefully your next slide, is maybe some cleanup.
Yeah, and because, another thing here was, there were some, departments that had salary increases. You guys had mentioned keeping everything at 25. So that's one thing that changes from that one to this one. I know Jim spent a lot of time, I think Gary, maybe assisted some too. He put together a salary comparison to get the salaries back to the 2025 levels. So that's one thing, and there's 4 notes at the bottom, but that's one thing that changed from that previous one to this one. Then the 711,000 of surplus in Lit ED. If you remember, there was a major deficit in health insurance trust of roughly that amount. So we increased the group medical line in Lit Economic Development to actually fund that major deficit, which luckily, that, like I mentioned previously, that Lit ED rate was, increased for 25, and obviously that's moving forward. So there was that, and then you guys had a decent amount of capital outlays in your general fund, and we were recommending shifting those to CCD to help with that deficit.
Yeah.
So there weren't, and then I just noted again, I know I already mentioned it, but because it sticks out there, red, the 500,000 for the contract for 911. Jim had mentioned, how often does that, you guys have to pay the 500?
Yeah, what I
It's kind of building
was told by the
for it.
commissioner's office is the commissioners, which I think is a good idea, that's every 10 years that contract comes to renewal. And the commissioners, I think, had a conversation about setting up an escrow fund where we allocate, say, $50,000-$60,000 every year, so that in 10 years from now, if there's the money, it's been approved, we have it, we can pay it, we don't have to.
We budget every year, kind of like I was trying to do with the election with the.
Yeah, we escrow it, which I think would be extremely smart, in the best interest of the county to do that. So.
Jim, on these Form 1s, when they submit their budget, does that also include what they put in themselves for their wage increase?
Yes.
Yes. Well, what, I think,
Because-
let me feed your question back. Your question is on the Form 1, does the department have the discretionary ability to key in their, how much money they're requesting for each employee? Is that
Yeah,
the
so
question?
what I'm saying is it kind of hidden when we look at it, just like he just
Yeah.
said? It's kind of hidden. So how do we know that all of those salary,
That's-
how do we know that those are all correct?
They're usually identified.
That's why it probably took me 18 hours to put together a very comprehensive report on the labor cost,
Okay.
of which I went through the department, the fund, the line item, the employee, their title, exempt status, hire date, years of service, pay grade, 2025 base pay, okay? And then longevity, stipends, and then their 2025 total comp, okay, based off stipends, longevity, blah, blah, blah.
Which is a great report.
Compared that to what they put in on their line items.
He
So there's
did.
no guarantee that that's correct, we're just assuming for the moment, till
Well,
we
what is gonna have to be done, okay, depending on what the council does with regards to cost of living adjustment, okay? Let's assume there's no cost of living adjustment. Then I think Julie's, obviously her department's gonna have to be the one that does it. And Julie's got a copy of this. But there's one that jumped out at me and it slapped me in the face. To give you an idea of some of the stuff, there are certain departments that they took it upon themselves to factor in a 3% cost of living for 2026.
I got 6 departments that did that.
Right, right. So, and then what was really interesting, and I'm not.
Have those been adjusted for in this?
Second page.
No.
That's my whole point.
No, but now hang on a minute, just slow up here a little bit. There is, and I'm gonna have
They have
to go
not.
away, there's 180 lines of, there's a total of 180 employees. This was as of June 30th, 2025. Control, but I just don't want to read this to you. I don't know. Here it is. Yeah, there's one department, it's a small department, but what they did is, the total 2025 comp was $48,643, but they're asking for $55,169. So that's an increase of $6,527.
It's more than 3%.
It's a lot more, right? Yeah, it's a lot more. So and it's not, it's not everyone, right? There's some departments who are really great and they did,
And that's the reason I asked that, is because I picked up on that with those papers that I was given.
Yeah, right. So yeah. So we'll have to go in and clean all that up to make it, I'm gonna call it true it up if you.
So what would you guess we could true that?
Well,
That would change these numbers.
Well, here's the issue. When you look at the overall,
Don't take long.
the overall total labor cost, based off pay grades, longevity, and stipends, $7,011,916. Now that's a 2025 number, okay? The Form 1s are $2,289,640. So the delta between the two, you're only talking $277K, but inside that $277K is also overtime. Or like, for example, the sheriff's department, I think the highway department's got some money in there for overtime. So it's not it's not gonna impact our overall budget, where we
But we are gonna fix it.
well, it has to be resolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it accurate.
Yeah, to make it accurate, and then once the council decides what they're gonna do. with
Which,
regards
if
to
you've looked at
COLA.
your Form 1s, I've already put pages behind them where I've already corrected
Yeah,
and made the 3%, but I haven't put them in because I have to actually put in the requested budgets in first. And
yeah,
then,
just while I'm on the subject, and I'll just disclose this, I talked to Lori Sheelan with WIS.
Sealand.
Sheelan, yeah, and then while I'm at it, I emailed Susan Beavers. So she's got this, so she can begin to work, gives her hopefully plenty of time to work on the salary ordinance, right? And then I also emailed this and had a conversation with Lori Sheelan, because she can now use this, because basically all that WIS is gonna do, their proposal is basically take us from 35 pay grades, let's say down to 6, but then there's gonna be this range, a low and a high, and then they'll kind of tell us what every job position where it ought to be, and then from there, we've got to go in and basically look at taking the old compensation system and flipping it over to the new. Now, what I don't know is what you all are gonna do with regards to the stipends, the longevity, all of that.
All that's supposed to be going away.
Well, that's up
That
to,
was part of,
that's
that
up
was
to you
part
guys.
of,
You
that
guys
was
have
part
to
of
vote
their,
on that. You all have to vote on that on the salary ordinance, so.
well, that was all part of their charge.
So she's gonna, so what she's gonna do is she's gonna come back and say, here it is, but then you all have the decision of, you guys have gotta make the decision how you're gonna do
Are you
that.
gonna vote for Jim, or are you gonna sit out on that one?
I'm gonna get the mark. So, yeah, so it's you all, it's your decision.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not my decision. So, yeah, so that's what she's gonna do. I just wanted to give you an update on that, so that you know that that's coming down the pipe.
Thank you for
Part of
doing
the
that.
purpose of that was to
It's good.
really accurately reflect the job descriptions,
Right.
taking the stipends that are being paid for as part of the job description on a temporary basis, roll that into the job and make it part-time.
Well, and what I'm excited about, and you know, it's crazy,
This is what my
but
person.
she supposedly, they're gonna give us a document, a policy document, okay?
And there hasn't
That
been one.
gives us an approach for being able to make an objective decision with regards to compensation and these positions. So that it's not a subjective decision.
Fair, accurate, and reasonable compensation.
Takes, right, and we just go through and go, boop, score it. Score it.
That's gotta keep-
Right. So,
Jerry, yeah, we've roamed a little bit there.
I already have
You wanna
it
get back on?
scheduled.
I guess with any, my main concern, and I know it is, she's probably getting antsy over there, is that, you know, the Form 3, and what's most important there, right, obviously the levies are what's most important in making sure those were, that's a little bit more, or a little simpler, but I just want to make sure that we advertise high enough for any decisions that you guys may make. So as far as, you know, the general fund, I've got a, you know, good idea on these other ones, but the general fund, and this number, it's not exact to what you currently have, it's really close. But do we foresee you guys with any decisions, the budget being any more than 10.538 million?
I mean, the commissioners is the majority of that, so I don't know, Tim, you haven't.
I just, because I mean, it's based off the Form 1s in there right now. Some of them have, like, they put wage increases, some, you know, didn't. And I know that you guys just, you know, mentioned, like, if you do a cost of living, I just want to make certain that you guys don't have to go, you know, next year and do an additional appropriation to fix the budget.
I would, I mean, this is personal opinion, I mean, I know, you know, we talked about, income tax rate, income tax receipts have gone up by 5%, which means overall the economy has grown by an average of 5%. So I don't want to shut the door on any kind of cost of living increase for the
do you
employees.
want to factor that in?
I think we should, and then, yeah, and that's, you know, what, if we do, what's the
We did,
consensus
you
on?
did 3% on 7 million, it's an additional 210 grand, right?
Yeah, 160, 170.
Well, so you got 7 million in labor costs.
It can be a right? Fixed, the Form 3, so you don't, yeah, we can just add a line up, just, I just don't want you guys to.
If you did it 3%.
Right. We
So
don't
we have
wanna
to
do
decide
that.
this right now, Jerry, this is due tomorrow?
Well, what I was just mentioning, it doesn't have to be an exact amount. I mean, we can advertise high just on
Well,
the
let me
general
give you a
fund.
number, let me
And it doesn't
piggyback.
mean we have to do it.
I get that, all right, so let's do this.
We can cut it.
All in on perf, FICA, everything, okay, excluding group medical, of course. 8.2 million. So if you hit that at 3%, right, so 3 times 8 is 24. What's that? 250 grand.
Yeah, I think, and that would be a 3%.
That would be a 3%.
Across the board.
You can put that in there, and then if you all decide that's
Yeah,
usual
usually
time.
not.
So you're gonna advertise that 10-8.
Split, you know, it seems like a reason.
I mean, and I'm not saying 3%, I mean, if we
Right.
do one, I don't want to close the door on it now and then come back and say, well, we did have it,
I'd
we
like to
could have
put
done it.
another, let's see, 25, there's 7 times 25 is how much? Let's say 175.
175?
Yeah, put another 200 grand for council salary increases.
Well,
And take it away from the commissioners.
That sounds like it wasn't joking, that's a great quote.
All right, so,
Thanks for the headline, buddy. Maybe we did the primary.
Thanks, Jim.
We'll just have to put a buffer in any of the funds, obviously the general fund's the main one. But MBH, or anywhere else there's salaries, we're gonna have to put a buffer. And it won't take very long.
Okay.
So the question is, do we
Yeah, I'll help.
advertise the 250 tomorrow?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it just gives you the option.
Right.
And then, like, if you don't want to do it, what you adopt will be lower, so.
If we don't account for it, we can't do it. If we do account for
We
it.
don't know what the salary ranges are, guys.
You just brought up a valid point.
We don't know what the salary ranges are, with,
Right.
so.
Yeah, okay, let's,
We gotta
Well,
take
isn't
that
that
into
gonna be
consideration.
somewhat covered, but we say this department gets so much, you guys do what you want with it?
can I just, let's piggyback off this.
Hold on,
I know.
expand on your,
Well, they were supposed to compare to other counties.
right.
Well, let's just say, I'm going to use Julie's office as an example. Let's just say that Monroe County pays their auditor $75,000 a year.
Well, we
And
can't
they,
match them.
right, exactly. So we can't match those, but that might be their recommendation.
She
That
said-
doesn't mean that we can match those. So we have to fit what we can fit in. So that doesn't mean just because they can't come back with these salary ranges of X, Y, Z to this, that we may have to come back with our own salary ranges.
I don't know if she
From
said
point
other
A to point
counties
C.
or other comparable counties.
Comparable.
Right.
So,
And-
but still.
And that whole
we don't
thing is
know
up
what
to
the-
adjustment. We can take.
And they-
But what it does is it.
They just
is
take
it
a
creates
percentage, they
range that we can
base it
use
on
to
a
kind of
percentage
adjust
of,
it
they'll
for
just
what
take it
is
from
actually
one
being done. And we can shrink the whole thing down proportionally as a percentage, which we're going to have to do.
You're gonna have to.
We're not gonna be able to pay Monroe County wages.
Exactly.
But what it does is
Or
it
Bartholomew.
reestablishes our pie, and then we shrink down accordingly to what our actual cost is. But if we include a 3% increase, then it gives us some
It
flexibility.
does give us
to
flexibility,
kind
but
of
we
meet
do
that.
have to look at that.
And actually, when I was listening to you guys talk, I think the way to approach it is when they come out with that, we take their new approach, plug it in where we are currently with every employee, and then look at every department, every employee, and see where they are in relationship to what's,
where they should be.
what that position should
Yeah,
be.
it's gonna be a real education.
It's gonna be,
And make
yeah.
and make a proportional.
Yeah, and that
adjustment as
meeting, we will
need for
probably,
actual
we probably ought to get prepared. I mean, that probably ought to be a all-day concentrated where we don't talk about anything else other than labor
Well,
costs.
now, one thing we could do, we just talked about, is set up a WIS committee that parallels this and carries it forward in the future. 3 people who do that, like our finance committee. Therefore, we don't have to do it, they report to us, and
No, I know we
and they
could.
also are responsible for implementing it downstream. People previously have said that, yeah, you do this stuff, but then you don't follow it through and implement it properly.
Right, I would
This is
rather
gonna be
see,
a good
though,
change.
personally, I would rather, there's only 7 of us, okay? And, the 7 of us, we all need to have some skin in the game.
In our 24 meetings that we have each year, surely we can have one meeting that.
Yeah, well, we could take one special session meeting and devote that to,
All right, we can do it that way for the start, so we all get familiar with
we
it.
got,
If we need
there's
to,
a
we
ton of
can
committees.
provide a committee that goes
There's
with policies.
committees everywhere, so.
Fine, yeah.
And what I don't like about the committees, I don't, what I personally object to is people making decisions in a vacuum, so, go ahead.
I'm with you.
Personnel committee, wouldn't that cover this?
But I see
That's for,
the
No, I
value.
get that,
that's for policy.
Thank you. It should
I
not be
think the
there.
council members need to really understand.
But
And that's the downside of a committee, is you've got 4 people.
Yeah, you
involved
it's-
in it.
it's-
Participate.
as long as we addressed, and we just talked about policy, personnel, and advisory committee, and the implications of the personnel manual, we need to look at that, right? That is a key factor, because the proper implementation of that will affect our finances.
We cannot afford that employee policy anymore.
Jerry, I don't know if you're, well, I think, we had an executive session to talk about a matter, like a pay matter, and there was a number we were given. is that number, I don't, and Susan, you were there, has that been incorporated into our budgeting? It's kind of a one-time, potential item. I don't know how much, Susan, we should talk about it or not. I'll let you clean up anything.
I think that's right. Jerry's question of, should we advertise the general fund a little higher than what the requests are, which were 10.5, right? I think that's going to get covered in that, because as he just turned around and said to Julie, while you guys were kind of having a conversation, right, there's payroll in the health line, there's payroll in MVH, right? So all of those lines are going to bump up just a little bit, and general fund still may bump up by 250. So I think you're going to cover that in your advertisement, is what I'm saying. If it's not paid out this year, I think the intent is to pay it out this year.
So our cash balance may be, and feel free to talk to Susan after the meeting about any of that, but.
What are you talking about?
We had an executive session, talk about pay-related issues.
Oh, that, yeah. That one.
Our comp time.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall it, but we don't want to talk about it here, but.
No, that's fine.
It's more this budget.
It may come before our next council meeting for approval. Probably, we have to approve that in a public meeting. Kind of
You
say,
do,
hey,
yes.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, if you guys,
So,
that sounds like we're covered, so I just want to make sure. Okay.
Jerry, what do you got? Just two more things on this. We talked about this, obviously, moving forward, closer to year end, when we do, plan a update, those monthly summaries that we send out, we'll make sure, just what we receive, that nothing's, trending to the negative, like the big one being the health fund, or health insurance fund, 4,700. Capital plan we talked about, then the Senate Bill 1 impacts, we have that, revenue loss in the financial plan for 2026. Obviously, you just saw the portion that was going to the general fund. There's some going to, your other property tax funds.
I have a question. When we were at a conference, some of the people up there said that they don't think this is necessarily going to hold because it doesn't seem viable. Do you have any feel on that?
SB1?
Some of the aspects of it, yes.
Me personally, and some of the units that I'm working with, I am praying that it
Doesn't.
Or it changes.
Correct.
There's some cities that we work with, especially in high circuit record communities, with property tax relief that's going away. And in a high circuit record community, it's not necessarily a relief to the taxpayer that's paying that income tax. It reduces circuit breaker, which is the loss of revenue to the units. So any of those type of cities, like that's the one I just went to on Tuesday, and it was well over $2 million in property tax loss for them. And with them being a city, they were limited to what they could do on the income tax changes as well. A lot of counties at least have more options that, that they can at least address, but in their particular, and I won't say who it is, but in their particular scenario, they were getting, it was almost even on the income tax, but then they were losing about $2 million come 2028. So they're in a bad situation. So, I hope it changes. We're working with AIM, which is accelerating municipalities and legislation, and putting together. They just like you guys have AIC in the conference. We present their conference, which we're going to again this year to discuss this. So we've got a big database of different counties, cities, counties, and all the units within them and how it's affecting things. So we're doing what we can, but we'll see if it sticks. But what I tell anybody that I'm working with, well, this is the way it is right now, so we have to plan for this unless something changes. So now your guys' scenario, you guys, the income tax piece, it like you guys at least have the option of being able to make up for any losses on property taxes, because there's going to be benefits to taxpayers on the property tax side and kind of balancing it out, but you guys at least have, you know, the option. There's
Jerry,
some.
what would that look like? I mean, and the legislature is very interested, it seems like, in suggesting and encouraging local governments to increase their income taxes to, I think, ultimately offset property
I
taxes.
believe one or two of them are quoted as maxing out your income.
They really want us to kind of pump up, and we as a council have not really talked about that. We're trying to drive in the other direction, right? So what we learned in that conversation, which was helpful, was we passed a property tax relief portion within our income tax that provided that relief already. We're kind of ahead of where they're wanting us to go. But that actually freed us up to raise our income tax apparently more than it's basically a credit. We're credited that amount of property tax relief and so we had like 400,000 in addition, or I'm sorry, it was more than that in additional income tax. But would we, I mean, if all things were equal and we followed the legislature's lead, like we would, it's very simply, lower property taxes and increase income taxes proportionally over here to kind of provide property tax relief, but then the income side picks it up. I mean, is that
Pretty much. It's almost, it just seems like they're forcing more decisions at the local level.
I'd love to see property taxes go away, and I know we don't want to go into this right now, right? I mean, it's kind of maybe a longer term conversation with SB 1, but
Yeah,
that's kind of the gist of it. It's like, hey, they want us to increase income, drop property, and kind of move more towards that.
I would like to,
Which is where we've been as a county.
Yeah, we've been driving that, like, yeah.
Couple of decades now.
We're way ahead of them.
Yeah.
obviously, as long as you guys are good with it, I'd love to come back and focus solely on Senate Bill 1 and the way it sits now. Because there are some decisions that you guys will have to make, not just for your guys' revenue or income tax structure and what you collect, but you're, making decisions for other areas as
Okay,
well.
I was not going to bring that up, but because you just cracked the top on it. I was hearing, and if you could kind of maybe educate the public a little bit, and us as council, Susan, I don't know how much you followed this, but I was hearing, I think, that the county councils now are going to be more responsible for the other taxing units in the county, like the school, the town, as two examples, in more of a binding review
That's what I said.
process.
We're gonna have a binding review of what has.
And so I think the legislature is like concerned about some of the tactics that certain cities and towns have used to like scrape up, like if we lower taxes as a council, they apparently in some counties and cities and towns, I don't know if it's happening here, but they are, these other districts, schools and towns and cities are immediately gobbling up that excess revenue, kind of no questions asked, immediately. So that what we pass as a property tax relief measure isn't actually realized by taxpayers because it's immediately gobbled up by these other taxing units. And so I think the legislature, and I'm trying to summarize here very concisely so that we don't have a day, but they're trying to get us to the point where the council is responsible for binding oversight of those activities so that activity no longer occurs.
That was my understanding.
And we protect taxpayers, like if we pass a tax relief, it should be felt by taxpayers, not immediately turned over by some other taxing unit, right? So I kind of like that.
It doesn't necessarily work, the only way the school gets extra money is through the referendum, which was, because they can't, if we reduce something somewhere, the school cannot just come in and take a bigger.
They also address that separately too. They said you can't do it every year.
Right, but I think what they were referring to are the referendums. Which
Yeah,
just
they
happened with us,
limited
we
it.
had a 50% increase in the referendum rate.
There was kind of a rushed effort to get a referendum through just before that new law made it harder to do every year. It seemed like it was like pushed right up to the day. Maybe it was unrelated, coincidental, but, and so, anyway, Jerry, was I correct, kind of acting what I was saying?
Well, I mean, I know there's limitations and things like on issuing debt
Right.
and having to wait. I'd have to check to see if, on that one, I apologize, I don't know off the top of my head on that exact scenario.
There's like a more council oversight and binding review, right?
That was my understanding at our council, state board of accounts call meeting. Also, It's my understanding that according to that meeting, that they expect these things that just happened with all the property taxes to only be in place for a short period of time. They expect this to change. They've had such an outcry from legislators because this was, that the governor wanted something done and they did it. And now they realize that this was a big oops, and they really expect, this was according to the meeting that we were at, for there to be some changes. Is that not what we
Yeah,
heard?
it's, the one guy put it is they had to do something, they threw it against the wall, but doesn't mean it's gonna stick.
Yeah, it was Senator or Thompson, Representative Thompson, who said, this is gonna change. I'm gonna tell you, he said, we expect it'll only be, even if they have to call like another session or something, they don't expect this to last.
It'll always change. It seems
Oh,
like
yeah,
improve
yeah.
and shift with, but Jared, I mean, would you mind reporting back to the council on our oversight of the school district budget, the town's budget, and solid waste is kind of the other, we already.
Well, I thought that they couldn't even ask for referendums all that
It was
often.
not every year. It was I think it's every other year. They limited them, and I think that's why we saw maybe some activity. across the
General
state.
elections off year.
And.
Is that what it is?
And the general election.
But I think the council needs to know, if we're gonna be assuming additional oversight of the school board and their budget, the superintendent's budget. I think we need to know, and I'd like to volunteer to be a part of those conversations to make that a good transition. And if we're gonna have to understand their budgets and dig into it to make these decisions on behalf of taxpayers.
And also any extra responsibilities that we have as a council. One of the things I heard is that we have to actively reset the tax rates every year. Because by default, everything drops back to zero, and then we as a council have to actively reset it. And if we don't, then we're gonna end up getting ourselves into.
Yeah, so unlike now, I mean, you said it, and as long as that you don't want any changes, it just, carries forward, but you guys will have to do that under the way it sits currently in 2027, 428, but then yes, you're correct, every year you'll have to.
Otherwise, it defaults back to zero.
And then, as I was mentioning, there's other, units, say like townships or, fire, things like that, where you guys have control over that as well. And then you guys have control over, there's nobody there's no cities or towns over 3,500 in population. So, for Nashville, obviously they're receiving income tax. You guys are going to be the ones setting that. So it's a lot more responsibility and more
Well,
time
control over tax rates, which, is kind of a safeguard for taxpayers, right? It can't be, it just seems like there's been a lot of whipsawing with rates, and we can reduce significantly, and nobody feels a penny of savings, right? That shouldn't be, I think they're forcing it to be felt as a savings before and then a decision to increase it if that happens like the next year, right? And so be more intentional about it. Yeah, I'd like to be involved in that, especially school conversation. I'm probably the only one here with a child in school. So it's very important to me, and I want to be engaged on that.
How about we take a 5-minute break, We're halfway through? I know some of you are going in the shower.
I only have this slide left for this presentation, and it's just a timeline. It wouldn't take.
What do you got? Yeah, that was good. That was my next kind of.
Okay, do it.
So August 7th, obviously today, work session. Tomorrow, or by tomorrow, which as I mentioned, we'll probably, get it done right after this meeting. Submitting the notice to taxpayers. That's just on the gateway system. Notifies, when the public hearing is, adoption. It has whatever advertised budgets. You have to advertise, a levy, which is extremely important. Just kind of notifying the public, even though I feel like 99% of the public doesn't know that gateway exists, but that's the way they changed it a handful of years ago. And then August 18th, that's your regular, council meeting, but that would be, the public hearing, first reading of the budget. And then September 15th is, second reading, adoption. And then even prior, between, September 15th and early to mid-December, you have to submit like all the gateway forms within, 5 business days of the adoption. Which Julie, she's been working her butt off. I know that she's been entering and stuff, a lot of information. She's got a lot of that legwork done, so, just fine tuning anything. But then that has to be submitted, it goes on to, the state, they do their review process, they send out what's called a 1782 notice for your major funds, all your property tax levy funds, making sure you're comfortable with how, because they won't always allocate it exactly like levy-wise the way you might want it. So you review it, make sure everything looks good there, send it back, and then wait for the budget order to come out. But that's kind of the process, but those are the 18th and the 15th. My understanding is your regular scheduled meetings, so nothing, no special meetings or anything like that. And then I can come to, like, this is like bare minimum.
Right,
what you need to do.
right. State mandated procedure.
And then whatever, I just have to put in obviously all like 7th. I know that you guys meet every first, Thursday.
Can I add something into that? You have from the time that we publish to the time of the adoption to get whatever changes you want to do in this budget done. Because I have to get them in that system to get it adopted.
Say that one more time,
So you-
so everybody can hear you.
Okay, so from the time that we publish, the time that we adopt, you have to decide whatever changes you're going to make to this budget so I can get it into the system to get it adopted.
And the adoption date is September 15th. So by September 15th.
Everything has to be done and approved.
Everybody hear that? September 15th. Everything has to be done.
Well, it needs to be done before that so I can get it into the
Oh,
system.
So by what date do we need to have all of our cuts, edits, changes, line by line, discussions completed, so you have enough time to get it in?
If,
I mean, give yourself enough time, because we never do.
I would say a week
The
before
entire-
the
the entirety of our
15th.
next working session.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Say that
mention.
again,
The
Julie.
next working session.
By
would
the
be-
next working
It'd be,
session.
No, during our next working session, the entirety of it is devoted to any changes that we need.
yeah, that would be great.
September
Which is
4th.
September 4th, so we have
Yep.
one more meeting, if I'm reading this, well,
One more work
we got
session.
one more work session with a public council meeting if we don't schedule more meetings, which I don't know how we have all of that conversation, especially with no department head input in one meeting, like,
Well, no, we'll have department head input between now and then. We're gonna start talking about it right after this. What we need to do and go address people who need to be addressed.
okay, so we'll talk about that next, but September 4th,
First
is
of
that what
all,
I'm hearing? Hold on, September 4th is the
That
cutoff
would be fabulous,
for
actually,
all department.
'cause that would give me enough time.
Everyone's changes. How many days is that? That's less than 30 days. So we have one work session.
It's our next work
Well, we
session.
may have 2 work
We have one
sessions
more,
if we need
one more
to.
regular meeting,
Yeah,
and then that next work session, our next regular meeting is our public hearing on the budget.
right. And then September 4th is our work session.
Our work session to finalize any changes that we make to it and get those to Julie so she can have them
So,
done by.
You,
September
whoever
15th.
you are in charge of, you need to go to their offices and talk to them about that budget.
Yeah, luckily I don't have the sheriff's office, which I thought I did, so that's a big one.
yeah, I already talked to Brad about it.
Because I'm having like tons of them asking me when they're going to be.
So Gary, let's talk
Talk to-
about that. You said the
Well,
department
if they
heads will be
submitted their budgets
engaged.
properly, we don't need to talk to them.
There's nothing.
Well, I'm not sure. I
That's
agree
part
with
of the
that.
standard is changing a little bit here, so that's.
How many problems have you found? I mean, have you found anything serious?
I would say,
we have
if for no other
systemic
reason, you need to talk to them just to tell them there's no
Okay,
really changes
okay,
to your
hold it,
budget.
Hold it. Do we want to take our 5-minute break? Since
Yeah,
we're
there you go.
done,
There you
then we'll
go.
go
Yeah.
start
There
this.
you go. Good idea.
Sarah and Jim have to go solve all our problems. What they are. You got the solution, Ed?
Oh,
No, you guys are
good
doing great. Can I
Lord.
have a couple more of those budget books, please?
Couple more, really?
Presentation.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't have,
Well, actually, I have them printed.
Oh, he's talking about the budget books?
yeah, what you just handed out.
These?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. They're,
Accountants always have extra copies.
yeah, I've got more in here. There is a change on what is on here and what you received, and it's a pretty big change, so I do want to point this out.
Right, it is.
This right here,
Yeah,
that's not the case. So that's it.
okay, I can cross
How
it
many,
out. Okay,
you need more than that?
no, appreciate it. Now, you guys greatly improved over Dave's process.
Over what? We're working at it.
Sounds looks, don't. We're not done yet, so.
I did have one. Yeah.
Thanks, Jerry.
I hope you're right.
Thank you.
No, it's-
You guys want me to
I
stick
heard
around
that, so.
for Zimper boys?
Hey, Jim, do we need Jerry to stick around?
Stick around for any, I mean, I have to anyway, I'm gonna
Okay.
help Julie, so.
So have you talked to them?
If she's here, I can get it.
You guys probably have to call him in and talk.
Kevin did. Because we were gonna work on
Okay.
form.
The others,
Yeah,
applied for Chad, the rest are zeros
yeah,
on her sheet,
Right.
2-year sheet.
right. Joe, nice to meet you.
Rest of the budget, here's your policy. Anybody that violated policy owes me
Yeah, I
money.
got your email. Yeah.
Taxpayer percent.
Mhm.
Here's your policy. Here's what you gotta prove. You're violating. One authorization you haven't violated. None.
Just,
How can you say that?
All of us.
Quite modest.
I'll check.
I'll check. Bring that, Julie, can you bring that reading things and that invoice you got?
Invoices?
Payroll. Yeah, specific, or, just kind of address that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's been a disconnect somewhere.
Because I don't know if it's all on the same one. Because I know that.
He does though. He does, oh boy.
It's a big one.
Oh boy. He is, you know he's excited stuff on there as well.
I didn't bring those up.
I didn't bring them downstairs. That's just for payroll, right? How many months is there?
$50,817.
Right, is that for just 2 months?
That's just for the 4 payrolls that I have, yeah.
How many work?
You the same one?
No, I have 15.
$50,817.
51 grand. $51 grand, 2 months.
It won't be that. I'll check and make sure.
I had
2,500.
I've got it right.
Yes, 100%. Now, were they doing anything outside? I'm not up to speed on.
No, I know you're not, I'm just raising.
I'll make sure it's good, but it's not, it won't be.
Extra was just very in the
And there's a lot of those.
Okay, well, I'll make sure, I'll get the detail that shows, you know, the difference.
If you want to go to court, we have enough money in our budget, I think, we can go to court.
We need to advertise for that.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's not, I will tell you that, so.
So I'm gonna hold on to
What are
those.
So it goes,
Got one yesterday.
Because that's different from what you
so.
said.
It's still, I'll still get the detail worked out. See how much time is allocated. But it won't be 20, 50, because the way
Right, this is my, and I went through back to everyone.
it's still.
Anything that counts, I use a year.
Yeah.
I just put
But
it
then
there.
receive that total, it has, comes down here, and then we pass to the existing one, 60, and then
She's got us. This issue, we need to address.
because really,
Moving it all, write down words we understand so we can put it into our training manual.
So far, I did good today.
Well, anyone that thinks would be pertinent to anybody new, you may have read it more. Being government entities, so you know more.
What we've been doing is actually looking all of these acronyms up. Most all of them are in there.
Did I send you the acronyms? I got a whole list of all the acronyms. I'll send that to you.
you would rather have capital.
Yeah, he wants to.
My wife was in the room like her.
Only
There's some
that
stuff. Yeah, and I just went, all I did was just went through and then it kind of jumped out at her.
Yeah.
Made little-
But
I'll give. And I'm like, oh, what offices in this building? It's all like,
Yeah, right.
okay, so it's not.
No, that's not what he told me. Exactly that.
But yeah, they will get that figured out. Really
I'm
going to work for them.
Half as much as what she mentioned earlier.
Yeah, because the way the invoice works, he's got all the rest of
But I
it.
think we'll get the detail and we'll show the differences between, you know, any corrections. things like that.
50 grand, that'd be a good hourly rate.
Yeah, it's not that. But I will have to talk to them.
Okay.
And if anything, we should be separating it out anyways, like we mentioned specifically for payroll, 500, we should have.
Just send it to you, Patrick.
That's just.
Okay.
We kept the list for first year. because they were confusing.
I turned my phone on, but the dogs start barking.
There you go, who let the dogs out?
Well, no, actually, what that is part of my alarm system. That's it.
Hello?
So if someone shows up at the door,
Yes, it is.
in a radius of about 4 yards, so I know there's someone there.
Yes, hi, how are you
But, and
today?
it also,
I'm
when they
good.
get near the house, they also hear that. It sounds like there's a dog there. But it used to,
Yes,
this stupid thing, if I was away, it would just.
Okay.
Now, even when my phone, the sound's off to it, it still does that. I can't figure it out.
Well, which
hang
I
on
use
just a second.
I got doorbells on my internet. It just sends me a text every time someone cues it. It's pretty a dog or a deer.
Well, this happened after an update.
And I hate that.
I hate that. I wish they would just, everybody quit updating
what time are
everything.
I think they should have a senior operating system that we don't change anything.
That's
We
right.
like it where it is.
Yeah. I think they should copyright that term, senior operating system.
If I'm the only holdout, like I will, Ms. Grilsing can come to the personnel meeting. Okay,
I know, I've been in some of those meetings, I miss them.
okay, absolutely, that sounds great. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Well, Jim Lee, you know, I looked at some of that stuff and it wasn't a whole waste of time. Well, I did. I picked up on that. Well, no, that was one of them. So far, this is pretty simple.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like that.
The kind of stuff you're doing, I want to call it. And I need to get to go to the highway department and fill up with gas. And I used to drive anywhere in the United States.
You already got the best healthcare system in the world. A free clinic.
Well,
Somebody can't go to the store. I mean, if people really thought about that, how much extra money that adds to their wage. I'm talking about full water coolers here, that's an amazing benefit. It has a long. That's my point. If you would just walk in and say, hey, I got a problem, let me, give me something.
You need to stop by and meet the new payroll person.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
I remember reading about it. Nobody's doing it.
What'd you get?
Julie, you make them sign in blood. You should make these people sign in blood.
I know, I want to make them sign a 5-year contract.
Doctor took him to.
Her name is Kimberly
All right.
Liam.
I tell you what, this.
These are 3-year contracts. That's a no-winner right there. And not only that, we don't think.
Ready to go?
Good.
All right, let's go.
Stop in and meet the new payroll.
5-year one.
Second new one?
The second one, the one that showed up, yeah. The other one didn't show up.
Actually, I agree.
Let's do our budget.
Was civilian security at the
I know it was.
Okay, what are the highlights and lowlights of our Form 1 budgetary process at this point?
Okay, can I jump in
Yep,
here a minute?
that's what I'm looking for.
One of the, oh, I got it. I can email it to you guys.
Because my computer's got to die.
I'll make a copy. All I did is I went through, and I looked at the general fund, Cume Cap Development, Lit 1112, and Lit Public Safety 1170, all right? And I went through all the Form 1s, and anything that looked kind of goofy, I just made note of it, okay? So what I did is I laid it out by department, by fund, okay, and line item number, and then the description of the expense.
Down there.
Okay? So, so to give you an idea, when you total it up, if you went in and deleted and said, no, none of you people are gonna get any of this money, take it away, right? Then you'd free up $1,242,901 out of the general fund. If you went in and made some adjustments like QCAP development, free up 156, Lit 1112, free up 507, Lit Public Safety 1170, free up 421. All right, now, what's interesting with the general fund, first of all, the council right now, we've got in our budget, $45,000 for policy services, $132,000 for financial consultants, and $150,000 for attrition recovery. So we have $327,000 in our budget for those three line items. Then we get into the commissioner's general fund. $30,000 professional legal, $48,000 for attorney retainer, professional services $60,000, $67,000, HR services $9,000, detention placement, which I have no idea what that is, $30,000. All right. So when I look at this, what jumps out at me is how much do we as a county want to spend on professional services? So legal services, WIS, reading, right, or any other one. How much? What's reasonable and customary? How much are we going to spend? So, for example, what I don't know is there's a retainer for Barnes and Thornburg for $48,000. Does that include so many hours of legal services, or do we have to pay billable hours above and beyond that $48,000? I don't know. So, what I do know in 2025, we got a $95,000 bill right now with WIS, is what we're going to spend with just WIS. From there, you get into, like I've got inmate food, so we could let them starve, I suppose, and just take the $75,000 out, Inmate medical, $120,000, that was interesting. The only other area to me that we probably should have a conversation on is buying vehicles. The coroner wants another vehicle. He's got $50,000 in his budget to buy one. And, being an old car guy myself, I don't know how many vehicles the county owns. I don't know what the service dates are. I don't know where the service records are. I don't know. Do we have a policy in place that speaks specifically of how we're going to manage that inventory? I think Tim Clark brought to my attention right now, and I'm looking at it right now, we got some POS Buick sitting out there right now that the county owns in the parking lot, correct?
Yeah, we moved it to the highway department.
Did you move it to the highway? Yeah.
Problem solved.
Yeah. So can we
I'm trying to
get
get one of those $95,000 Suburbans that the state guys have.
So do we have, and I'm not aware of one if we do we have a policy, agreement between the council, the sheriff's department, everybody, that this is how we want to manage that inventory. This is what we need to put in the budget every year to buy new vehicles. So that's a big one because that's expensive, right? And then the other one is really the professional services. Void of that,
you know, as you talk about Parks and Rec, if you look at their budget, Parks and Rec's budget, the bulk of it's labor cost. The same thing with every office in this building, it's labor cost. Where it gets expensive is it's really law enforcement, you know, because of all their equipment and all the cars and all that stuff, and then the highway department, that's expensive. But outside of that, I mean, you know, health department, yeah, you get RNs are expensive, but again, that's labor cost. So this idea that we're gonna be able to somehow go through, you know, it's like with, you know, with any of the departments in this building, there's really not much of a conversation I need to have about their budget until we get to the, I think it would be best practice for the council. You know, probably ought to include the commissioners on this as well. But when WIS comes back to us, it really would behoove all of us to look at staffing. Okay, are they understaffed, overstaffed, adequately staffed? I don't know how you make that decision, you know, because I don't know what they do. A lot of like the clerk's office. I don't know how many people in the clerk's office really need. So that we got staffing issues. You know, are we overstaffed as 180 employees? I don't know. You know, how many do we really need?
Huh? Say 180 employees?
180, right, is what we had, yeah. Yeah, 8.2 million and 180 people, plus group medical, and pension, you keep them in pensions, you know. So, you know, those are kind of, when we get into that WIS conversation, we probably ought to go through every department and just look at staffing. So for example, and then, you know, I'm gonna get butchered on this, because we'll probably put it in the paper.
Mark for the course.
Yeah, mark for the course, yeah.
Hey, easier.
But for example, we just took, let's say we've got 400 tourist rentals.
Like they're begging for you to blast.
So we just took 400 tourist rentals off of the treasurer's office plate. They don't have to do that anymore. And we transferred over that to Indiana Department of Revenue, right?
Not only them, but the hotels too.
Yeah, well, so the issue is, you know, I'm just gonna pick on the treasurer's office, is there's 3 people in that office. So do we really need to staff that office with 3 people now? I don't know, okay? I'm just asking the question. You know, same thing goes with, for example, the emergency services. I think in that Form 1, he's popped in another full-time administrative assistant. Do we really need that? So we need to look at staffing as well as how these people, you know, are compensated, because the reality is you can talk about this budget until you're blue in the face. You got $11.5 million going out just in labor costs for employee benefits, period. And then the challenge with that $11.5 million is you have to remember, when you look at that employee policy handbook, they're only required to work 75% of the time. You know, we have 17 paid holidays. So if you're paying out $11.5 million all in, but your workforce only works 75% of the time, then wouldn't it only make sense to take 25% of 11 million, which is 2.8 million. We pay out over $2.8 million a year for paid time off. Period.
Well, no,
So-
is that accurate or is that potential?
No, that's accurate. I can document everything I just said.
I know it's there, but do they all use it? Is
Well,
my
that's a
question.
different, but see, here's, now you get into a different issue.
That's what I
because
want to find out.
Now you're getting an issue, is like, in my understanding, with comp time, overtime, we don't track any of that. We don't have the
That's another
capacity to
issue
track it.
altogether.
We don't have any capacity to track it. Another issue is that, and I'm gonna throw this out while I'm on a roll. Stipends. Where's our policy on stipends? When we issue a stipend, does that go in perpetuity forever?
Well, aren't a lot of those going to die when we change the salary structure?
Well, but I'm asking, I'm basing it off of what we know to be true right now. I don't know what's gonna happen in the future. What we know to be true right now, my question is simply this: when the council approves a stipend, does that go for in perpetuity and ever? Once you
Let's
get
do
it.
this, let's
Yeah,
add,
until it's removed.
Okay, what's the likelihood the council is gonna come back and remove it?
Jim, let's add
And then-
stipend review so that the council
Well, okay.
oversees what you're
Now,
bringing.
one other issue I want to bring up, one that I noticed when I went through and did this analysis on our labor cost. Where's our policy on longevity? Do you know we have people within the county that are calculating longevity based off of fractions? So someone comes to work August 1st, right?
And then that following January 1, not only we're gonna give them the $100, we're gonna give them, 1/6, 1/12, or be, you could,
60%.
yes, yeah. So do we have a policy on longevity?
We have one,
have
but it's not specific.
We have some people calculate that, because here's the issue, some people calculate that, he comes to work for the county in February, right? And then he gets to the following year, and so we're gonna give him $100 for that, then we're gonna go in and we're gonna give him, take, 100 divided by 12 is 8.33, and you're gonna give him fractional longevity numbers, right? Now,
Is that a policy review? Is that a
we
policy?
don't, do we have a policy on that? I don't
We
know.
do, but it's not,
Okay, so here's the issue, now here's the issue.
It's kinda, yeah.
Put yourself in the position of the payroll person trying to track that.
Yeah, let's put that.
It's a
front back,
train wreck.
The policy,
So-
seems like a good,
So going forward, with this budget, the budget is what it is, right? And you can kind of go through and try to, but you're not gonna have significant impact on the overall budget, because it's really, you're gonna get am I gonna go to Brad and sit down with Brad and talk to him about how many bullets he's buying? Well, Brad, you can't buy that many bullets, you don't need that many bullets, right? I'm not gonna have that conversation with Brad, because it's not gonna have significant impact on the overall budget, right? Yeah, now, if we as a council going forward over the next, 1, 2, 3 years, things like looking at, copier paper, toilet paper, any kind of paper product, pens, what's the supplies that you buy?
office supplies.
Yeah, all that stuff. Could we try to track that and look at what we're buying, and then try to go to an economy of scale?
Yeah.
For example, Gary, you had an individual that you knew that approached the council some time ago that could potentially, we could get all the supplies from that one location to try to reduce that overall cost. And I think that would be the best practice for us. So what are the items that we buy every day, every month? But we've got different department heads buying from different places, because my assumption is that most of these department heads all have credit cards. Because that's another issue on credit cards. Do we monitor what's on those credit cards as a council? I'm done.
Before I retired, where I worked, everybody all over the country, when we bought supplies, we had a contract with a particular organization
Right.
that we all bought from there and got a really much less rate for everything, all kinds of copier paper, cartridges, anything you could think of, they would provide.
Printers, big.
Even
expense,
printers,
right?
everything. So those companies do exist.
Right.
And if we did that here, we might save a lot of money by everybody making a contract and
Trying to reduce
farming
the
it out.
cost.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna do that in one setting. I mean, that,
Right.
'cause to me,
did that a bit with printers and cartridges, so that's one.
Well, you
thing.
can contract with whatever you want.
I know, I agree. But and if you can talk that, you might also, why don't we contract with the schools stuff in there too?
Right.
Mutualize that. Whatever. Judy?
I'm gonna bring up again, which I brought up a couple of years ago, which Susan had given me several copies of reports that came from Jackson County. We're not getting reports from our department heads that we're supposed to be getting reports from. I think one of them was the treasurer is supposed to give us a report monthly. We're not getting those. I think as county council, we can demand quarterly reports at the very least from our department heads on the number of things they're doing in their departments. Whether it's the number of runs the animal control officers are doing, how many are resolved, how many are pending. I know there are departments that do annual reports. We could look at those if they do annual reports. But we're not getting reports on what departments are doing. We have the recorder's office, their office can generate a report to us. It's not hard on how many deeds, how many transfers, et cetera.
I'd just like to see our financial model.
I would like, this will tell us kind of what's going on in the departments. Activity levels, those types of things. And like I said, and many times it's not extra work on them. Their programs will put out what is needed. Yeah, there might be some work that's going to be required from an administrative assistant or something like that from their departments, but we need to know what they're doing. We have no idea of how many runs the sheriff's department does on a daily basis, a monthly basis, or whatever. And I'm sure they track that, but why are we not seeing it? At least on a quarterly basis.
Okay, can I answer your question? Why?
Why what?
Why we're not seeing it?
Because we've not asked for it.
Because I was the regular meeting, when I walked out of this meeting, I had to laugh and I chuckled myself. Okay? Because I thought it was very funny. Because we all agreed and we passed and requested that the CBC, they're responsible. Now, I don't want them to create that document in a vacuum. We need to be included in the conversation. But it is ultimately their decision and they have to vote on it to create a governing document. Well, a governing document is nothing more than their policy. And if I was on the CBC board, you know what I would have said? Hey, council, let me see your policy. Where's the policy document that speaks specifically of how the council's managed and how we go about our business? For example, if that's an expectation, then where's that policy document that speaks to that we want, department heads to report into the council and then tell them, for example, one of the mistakes that we're making, and I'm not trying to be critical. What I am trying to do is looking down the road and saying, best practices. What can we do to improve, continuous improvement, right? How can we improve? And to me, this situation that I stepped into 31 months ago, I didn't have anything to do with this, right? So, this is the way the county has been managed over the last forever, right? And so now if we shift it forward, the big issue is policy. Policy addressing stipends, policy, where is it that, what are the things that are going on that we don't have any policy to address? And so the first one is the council. And Gary and I have had some extensive conversations over the last couple of years on this issue of how do we want to manage the council? How do we, what do our meetings look like? And how often, what do we do? And so, for example, this year, I hope, and get my fingers crossed, Reedy gives us that 30-day report. Well, we probably ought to set aside 15 to 20 minutes in our regular sessions every month to discuss our reserves. The auditor's there, so we can have a conversation about, are we, Julie, we've got some things that we need to be aware of that we're going to write. I know of one right now that we're writing red ink on. I'm not going to bring it up, but you get what you focus on. And so if we don't have a policy to keep our focus, right, then it's so easy to get off in the weeds and off in all these different paths.
Well, I've written up some suggestions and have submitted them a couple of years ago, and I was hoping that those were things that were going to take off. It seems like we've always kind of gotten on other paths. I'm willing to write that up again and submit it to,
let's do it.
To those, or if Gary still has them.
Do we want to set up 3 people or so to go implement this policy from the departments? That particular thing?
Can I volunteer? Gary, how can we ask to hold the departments accountable
That's part of our
when
policy.
we as a council don't hold ourselves accountable?
I know, but that's part of the issue is we need information from them to look at it, like you're saying, monthly. That's part of our policy.
You're deflecting right now.
I don't think I'm
asking, what I'm asking is let's work on the council's policy. First things first, let's work on us. So we can perform better as a council before we go out and try to start holding everybody else accountable. In other words, practice what you preach.
Well, I think our main priority is finances of the county, and without a monthly financial report.
Yeah, well, we're getting there now, Scott.
Kind of, are we?
No. Wait, okay, whoa.
Status report.
The status report is a fund report.
What is it that you object to the 3-page report that you got from us?
I think we need a monthly report that's pretty standard issue. I think Susan sent us a great one from Jackson that shows every fund, its balances, it shows all of the monthly reported expenditures, revenues, and we'll see some variances, and it basically provides just a comprehensive 10,000 foot overview of the county's financial status, but not kind
You're not
of,
getting-
not quarterly, not monthly, not as, but every single
That's what
regular
this is.
council
I'm
meeting.
confused.
Every single regular council meeting, those items will be provided to us, so we can review it. It's kind of
That's
like,
what this is.
no, it's not.
What do you mean it's
That's
not?
not it. That's not a fund report.
Well, I mean, I've
It's
got
not
it right here.
comprehensive.
There's, so you got 170, you want, so you want a report with 176 funds on it?
No.
How many funds do you want on it?
Susan, maybe it'd be helpful if we looked at the Jackson County example. You've said that before.
I know, I was trying to hear.
I mean,
And,
read
and, I
something
mean,
right here.
you're sitting right here, I mean, obviously, every county in the state does this, this is not some kind of rocket science, and if we're not doing it, it's a problem. And so, to me, there's one thing we need, and that is it.
We are doing it.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well,
Okay,
then-
hold on, you guys are just throwing barbs back at each other. Okay,
No,
well, I know, no.
But like I said,
Specifically, what is missing on that that you want to say?
I don't know what he told
There's
me.
this
These
is
look,
every
the financial,
I can't
the
see
monthly
it.
financial,
I
the
used
same
to
thing
see
that's up on the.
Yeah.
monthly cash reserve summary. This is published now on our council website. Yeah, so the people in us can.
It's a cash reserve summary, what, and Jerry, can you
Well,
help us
then it's
understand what
got-
other counties get?
Well, that's why I was asking if it was something that, because Jackson County. I didn't work on
Yeah,
this
I've seen
specifically,
It's
what they-
basically a Lao
But it-
report
yeah.
fund.
But it may be something that, yeah,
I
they
can
could
do
just
it.
pull from their system and
I'm
give it to you.
positive that's
If it's
the
the
case.
same. That's why I was just asking, because Jackson County is a
It's
client. I
the
would- I
financials
work on
versus
them.
funds report.
I would figure out what it is and do it, but if it's from Lao, then she could.
Well,
just-
I'm not asking for anything out of the ordinary at all. Like,
Yeah.
I think we just
It's
need to see
from
the
Lao.
basic
Yeah.
financial overview of the county's fund, every single council meeting, no exception. And I know for many, many months, we did not see that. I saw one 3-page report, I think that you've given the council.
That's it, that one right there.
Yeah, 3-page report, maybe at our last work session or something, but I think it needs to be every month.
It is.
You received that for May and you received that for the end of June.
Yeah, this is
You got
June.
two.
So at our last
And
council.
next month, you're gonna get it for the end of July.
So let's look at this again.
Which part
3
do you wanna look
pages.
Yeah.
Let's just go through the 3
I'm
pages.
trying to follow you here. And I know I think we saw one that was like ballpark what I would want to see. This is different. This is year-to-date through June. This is when we're looking at what,
This is
today.
what you received by email.
Which I took a screenshot and put it in the presentation.
No, I'm not talking about monthly cash reserve. I mean,
And then there's a spending one that
Go to, go
focuses
to,
on.
there's
go to page 2, there's page 2. Page 2.
this is through June.
That's our adopted budget, how much we've spent, how much is remaining.
Yeah, so there's an appropriation
It's
report.
very summarized,
It's
obviously.
very general, right, I mean, and then what is it, third?
But you've got the highlighted yellow for what's jumping out.
Yeah,
You
which
can
some
look
of
there.
it's pretty, 50% is kind of the management or
And then this is by fund, like,
I guess I would ask Susan, like, what Jackson County does and what you previously sent.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I mean, there was a period of time where I went down and just asked Julie for a fund report, essentially. Right, and she can, Lau can do these monthly, she can print them off at the end of the month, you know, have it as part of your packet. I mean, it's just, it's every fund, right? So like there you see it in kind of some major classifications, but it is every fund that you have, right? Your project income for probation, your, your misdemeanor fund, your, capital projects fund, every fund that she takes care of in the auditor's office, is just on it can be on a fund report that she can run from Lau, that gives little different detail than what you're seeing up there. Like this is probably where Reedy collects the data from. They've just synthesized it into, kind of your major classifications.
Yeah, this is just the funds within your financial plan.
Yeah,
So there's,
every month, okay.
yeah, there's numerous other, I mean, obviously, if we tracked all of your funds.
And I don't wanna.
Yeah, we don't need
Yeah, that's, I don't need to see,
every,
and this is what we.
well, I want to review all of the county's funds. It's
We'll
our
go to the
job.
auditor's office.
And we need to just print that for the council. We are responsible for those funds. We need to be aware. If you're not interested, you don't want to look at it, don't look at it. But, I want to, see what's happening month to month with our county finances. diligence. It's our job.
Well, you don't need to jump to the.
So do you want those emailed to you before the meeting, so you're already
We've been talking
aware?
about this for like 2 years, and I don't know why we're still talking about it, but let's just get some, and I'd love for Jerry to suggest what that report looks like, and Susan's given previous examples based on your experience with other counties, because 3 pages a month, just a quick 10,000 foot view is not deep enough for this council to review what's actually happening.
I mean, we don't typically outside of, as far as I mean, you guys have how many funds, hundreds of funds.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't track all of those, but as far as to get you extremely up to speed on what we do, because it's a lot of information, we just tried to summarize.
No, I
it.
get that. It's a good summary,
I mean,
especially for newer
really-
guys that are like, they may, or, but you may see an issue on here,
Yeah,
and you have nowhere to go beyond this document, right? We just need a little bit more depth, and it's not just the fund balances, right?
Oh, we
It's-
have it in the auditor. If we see something on here that's.
I know.
Hold on. If we see something on here that raises a red flag, we can go to Julie and get the full report. I mean, we have that.
That's what I think we should be doing.
Yeah, any council member
That's what I'm
that
used
wants
to.
to go to Julie, and Julie, you can probably
Yeah.
report off you want.
I think we should just have them.
How about I just put a report for each work session, so that
Okay,
you
this is
each
a
have
good
a
start.
report at the work session?
Yeah, as long as.
Can we be
Yeah.
acceptable with this at the moment as part of our policy to start here? Now, and this gives us a synopsis, and like the next step would be, anybody has a question, which is the pattern of months, and once we get this a year from now, pattern over a year, give us questions to go to the auditor and say, what's going on, if we need to, right? Is that good?
Don't get me wrong, it's great that we're getting
No,
something.
it's
now.
good.
It's good that for the last 2 months, we've been getting something. My
So
point
do we
is-
need, is this adequate for a start? Do we need something more definitive, or we need supplemental, like from the other departments, such as treasurer and such like that?
That's kind of what I'm talking is, do you really think those 3 pages tell you what's going on comprehensively as a council member, where you can make important multiple?
Gives you patterns that you can then
Right,
investigate.
I just am used to a little bit more
I mean, I guess if
detail.
you really want to get in the weeds, you can pull a fund, and then I'll go in and look at the line item, and then I'll ask Doug to give me all the transactions within a line item. I mean, you can drill down. as
So
far as
you can go that far if you want. I wouldn't go that
Yeah, I mean,
far.
that's,
Yeah, I wouldn't go that
What are you
far.
solving for, I guess? is
Yeah, I wouldn't
what
go
it is.
that far. I'm not looking for a line by line.
What are you looking for? What
Yeah.
are you trying to accomplish?
Just a comprehensive
does that
financial
mean?
evaluation of our county's
What does that mean?
financial condition every single month. That this, and in fact, I think the S&P bond rating requires that of us to improve our S&P bond rating, that we review a comprehensive financial report every single month to the county council.
You
So I
mentioned
could be
it in
wrong,
your
but-
stuff, does this qualify?
we could, I mean, we have a financial plan, which obviously we don't have time to go over it, but I mean, I can see, like, we're literally updating, in order to update that, we take the financials in Excel, drop them in. So this plan is updated. If you want the full plan every month, obviously you're not gonna have time to go through that, like I focus on any of that if you're doing this.
Right.
But this is what feeds that, and it will, like how in the presentation I showed the general fund, all the revenues and like that breakdown, we'll have the expenditures. I mean, it's a lot of information, but this is
Yeah, I'm not
about as
looking for-
detailed as what we're, like,
I'm not
we
looking
would
for the
get.
ultra detail, but a level that is not 10,000 foot view, especially in areas where there are variances. And, I don't know, that's just my opinion. If you guys don't want to see any more
Well, you still
detail,
haven't answered the question. What's
What's the-
missing from this one that you want to see?
I guess I have to.
We can't solve
pull
the
that back
problem
up.
unless you tell
I
us
have to pull
what the
this
problem
back
is.
up and look at it. One thing that
Review
is
it, tell
always,
us what you need.
one thing's always helpful is so this is, which one is this? This is the 25
This is the-
projection.
Monthly cash reserve summary.
Okay, and then I think you got another one with the budget percent expended, is that? Yeah. And this, I mean, these numbers are kind of not helpful, but kind of helpful. It's like, it's really not.
We also, and we can send this as well, we have what we call, like, it's a 6-page report summary. We have, and it's similar to, financials that she could pull. We will just highlight any, overspent line items or anything that is worth noting. But we have a management report that feeds this. So it will literally show every single line item and the spending, and you can see, because it obviously
Pick one
groups
that's a
it.
problem. Like what should, so, okay, there's a problem here. Is there a problem on any of these highlighted, or are they all highlighted?
You would have to dive into, you know,
Why is the auditor at 42%? That's what you'd have to dive into.
and then like, that's why like I can send you the management report and you can see specifically what is leading to that, you know, 40%.
Is that a digital document?
Because it's a PDF.
Or, yeah, so you can just attach it, and
Yes, I
I
can
mean, there's
add that
like
to
14
that.
lines highlighted here as like something we should be aware of, but there's zero, other than like some kind of backing, there's no way for us to like
because-
take action, or like. be
Because there
aware,
could
right?
be a line item that is spent, okay, like your transfers that you make into your health insurance fund or whatever.
Right.
Well, that's gonna drive, any of those transfers that happen prior to June 30th is gonna cause expenditures to go up, but, so it might drive that percent under. So, you know, I could send the
So
manager.
we glance at it like, hey, this is at 85%.
And then if you
We're like,
wanna
oh,
look
it's
at-
a transfer from whatever.
Yeah, and then, so, yeah, if you see one of them highlighted, and like, oh, I wonder, and then you can go to the detail further if you want the manager report.
Mm-hmm. I think
Because
we need
there'll
more
be some
detail
things
more
that-
consistently. That's my opinion.
I mean, it's
You
done. I
can
mean,
get that
it'd
out
just
of
be
Lyle. I
PDF.
don't know that I need that more
I mean,
detail in
it's-
this.
Yeah, if you don't want it, you don't want it, I'm just telling you what I would like to see.
Well, the issue is to show what's addressing for problems showing up.
Mhm.
This does seem to be indicative of that.
I thought that once the council appropriated money to the department and all the line items, that once they get that, that's theirs, and you
Yeah,
can't
we're-
go back and change it.
Well, we can investigate why it's going for next
Can we
year.
go back and I can tell Tim that, nah, you're not gonna, right, I'll let you buy that, even though we gave you the money to buy
I don't
it.
know, it only gives patterns and says, okay, are we, not something out of line, okay, like WIS, we spent $95,000. We didn't expect that. Okay, so that's why that budget line is out of line. Right? We gotta know that.
Yeah, look at the council's budget. I mean, we're at 67% remaining, I guess. I mean, the other thing that actually comes to mind is the additional appropriations. I think you cover that in one of these, maybe, or,
Well, I mean, Scott, you can go in a lot and go deeper. I think for now, this is probably sufficient for most of us.
I mean, it's better than what we've ever seen.
And you can go deeper.
It's better than what we've ever seen. I just think we can.
Why don't you take it for the next 2 months and write down what you think would be necessary to answer?
It's a digital copy.
It'll
There's
take
not a
2 minutes
single page
longer
printed.
than what, I mean, it's a matter
Yeah,
of
push
PDF
another
and
button.
sending it, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see
And
it.
if you wanna see it, you can look
Yeah.
at it.
How many pages did you say that entire report is?
A lot.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, we don't want 100 pages. We want like a reasonable summary.
Ours
like-
will only
that's what
focus
the
on
purpose of this.
this, so it'll have the line items for these,
It'll
funds,
have the line items for
not
those
all
funds.
the other.
Yeah, it's not the whole thing. It's like the
This is just gonna be a monthly report, basically.
Yeah.
So,
And it'll show us patterns, monthly as yearly, as we get more and more data. So we can start with this, we can change it, but that's good.
Our disbursements exceed our receipts and we're burning on the savings account, and so we gotta borrow money to fix our stuff up. And it's going.
All right, so this is up for review, but we'll use it for the next 2 months. And Scott, if you have some things you want to enhance from it, that's great. Fine, just let us know.
So the Jackson County example, I thought was what, the example I gave.
Yeah, look at that and see
Yeah.
what
I already
it guys.
have.
Okay, what's next? What about the 97% that we're paying for the insurance? Is there any value on addressing that? Paying Jim to be on the insurance policy, whatever.
We're paying, of the, what is it, the
So back to the, we should go back to the agenda of the next meeting, I think, is capital expenses are, it's like the elephant in the room on those key areas. That is the major expense that's gonna explode our budget. It's not on the key areas list. Vehicles is kind of absorbed in that, but there's some much larger, multi-million-dollar deferred maintenance and capital expenses that are floating out there that are not, if I'm understanding it right, currently included in our budget. And I see Tim back here who's overseeing the capital asset thing. I was glad to see some progress on that at the last meeting. But Tim, am I right that we've got kind of a mountain of capital expenses headed our way? Can you give us like a preview? Is this something we should be prepared for, looking at? When will we receive that? Kind of how should we be managing those expenses kind of as we formalize the budget for next year?
Step one, Scott, was about the asset plan. Part of that was going through, looking at immediate repairs, replacements, utilities, that kind of thing. So, kind of a very quick report, identified those things. When I was appointed, those transferred to the capital improvement plan. So we did step one. What do we have? What do we need? what's immediate, what's not so immediate. And then we follow through on that one, the capital group. That's where we're at.
But
First time in county history, we have asset.
Yeah, I think we've seen some variations of that, but
No,
I think
I
thought we had,
spent the money to do.
yeah, I knew we paid somebody to do this for us, which looks pretty comprehensive, looked like a thick. Are there numbers associated with it, or is it just, hey, we need 5 roofs and 17 pieces of equipment?
It's descriptions of what's needed. We haven't
Not
started costing
expenses.
it out yet.
Okay, is it safe to assume we're talking millions, not thousands?
I'm not speculating, it'd be several $100,000.
Several
For instance, if you
$100,000.
Look at the courthouse, replace all the windows. We're talking about, you look at the sidewalk, that it may impact retaining walls, you look at those kinds of things, that adds up. We haven't even put numbers to it yet.
But you do think it's several hundred thousand?
Several hundred
Not
thousand.
millions?
That'd be conservative estimate.
Yeah, I'm actually pleasantly surprised, and I hope you're right. I mean, don't we have, you pretty confident it's not millions?
Well,
it's-
Scott, I mean, one, you identify what you have.
Yeah,
Okay, the next step is how old some of this equipment is. How old are the roofs? You know, how old is the HVAC? What do the windows look like? Step one was, what do you have? That's where we're at. What do you have?
great.
What's the obvious things?
So the next step will be how much and when, right? And
Well,
so-
Scott, and then if you
Yeah.
walk this through, there's probably another 10, 20, 30 steps. This is a living document. When you look at Jerry, when you look at the forms you gave us, all the information, we're looking for valuation, good Lord, you know, that's gonna take us years to get to that point. This is like a starting point.
Yeah, it's a good start.
Just to fill out those forms.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So we've got several $100,000 in capital expenses that are not currently requested in our budget, but are real, exist today, are known, and we are not accounting for them. And so that's the one that gets me, because it's the biggest one, I think. And actually, if you just think back, in the short time you've been here, Joel and Patrick, what explodes our budget pretty much every year, it's these surprise capital AC units, these, you know,
It's because we don't plan.
it's 911 contracts, it's these large capital, hundreds of thousands, I'm thinking it's more like millions of expenses. They just explode our budget. It's always after we do our budget, convenient. It's like right after we do our budget, oh, by the way, we have several $100,000 of other expenses. And so I don't want us to be unaware of that massive outstanding obligation that is currently sitting on the county's shoulders. And I don't know how, Jerry, we plan for that.
But that's what we're doing.
Scott,
But-
Scott,
Previously,
I'm going to
the crisis we can't plan.
100% disagree with everything that you just
Yeah,
said.
please do. If I'm off, let's.
Yeah, you're way out of line.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, tell me how
Okay,
that's.
let me ask you, over 23 and 24, what capital improvement projects did the Commissioner's Office come to the council and we had to do additional appropriations that we literally had to pull out of the budget to cover those capital improvement
I have to
projects?
look in 23 and 24. It's not just commissioners. I mean, they just oversee all of our equipment
What
and buildings.
additional
you know.
appropriations did we have to pull out of our general fund, let's say, for example,
Oh,
right,
gosh.
to be able to cover additional capital improvements?
Seems like it's always, well, it was the jail, HVAC.
Okay,
is
that's
last
all
year.
covered out of the bond.
Well, but it's.
No, we
slowed our
borrowed
budget.
$4 million
That's
to.
the reason why we had to
just-
borrow, right?
Scott?
And, yeah, because it was a surprise.
No, the AC units on the jail was not a surprise, just like yesterday they voted
Yeah, it was.
to put in the sump pump for the sewer. Right?
Boiler.
The boiler, you got the boiler, that was no surprise.
Yeah. those are
You know,
surprises.
that's being paid out, you know, that's being paid out of the general obligation bond, the 4 million that we borrowed, okay?
Can I check that? Because is that true?
What do you mean?
Are those expenses going to be paid out of the GO bond? I mean, do we not have to worry about those, Tim, or should we be worried about it? I hope you say no, don't worry about it, we got them covered.
Okay, well, I'm speaking to the $1 million that we're paying for the AC units is coming.
Yeah, that's covered. We can agree to
Okay.
that.
Furthermore, those expenses they have the money in their budget to cover those
Yeah, for those
expenses.
past.
Those are
Yeah.
not additional appropriations.
past.
Those are,
Yeah.
talking about the meeting they had yesterday. Those, they have money in their budget to cover those expenses. We have not allocated and been asked to do major additional appropriations out of the budget to cover capital improvement projects, period, okay? Number two, that's a bond, that has nothing to do with our budget, that has nothing to do with our budget.
The only thing
bond is
that, the only thing that may
completely
be hanging out there is the 9/11 fund, which we did
But
not
we have the
escrow.
money
I
and we're
know, but
gonna
we
pay
did
that.
not escrow, and we should have, and we will do that. in the
It was,
future.
we talked about that. That was being escrowed, but the money was spent.
Yes,
So
right,
they were doing it right, but the previous
right.
regime spent that money.
Correct.
Scott, on the other one, we're not gonna have to build a new prosecutor's office, we budgeted $2 million for.
That's right.
Okay, so that's gonna be a significant amount of savings, so I don't see the risk when it comes to capital improvement.
So your capital,
I think we're well ahead of it.
this is great news.
Well,
Am I hearing this right? I hope this is. Capital expenses and assets and projects that you see in that document that we haven't seen yet, that have a big, I mean, looks like a lot of
there's nothing keeping us up at night.
buildings and equipment stuff, right? Are you saying that all of those capital expenses are going to be covered by the GO bond that we've already issued?
Or our budget.
Or in your budget over the next 3 years, or how many years?
I think we're in pretty good shape.
We're doing a much better job than we used to.
So we are not going to see additional, I mean, I don't know if you guys are just blocking this out of your head, but every year, our budget gets exploded by surprises, right? And they're always capital surprises, okay?
That's not true, that's not true, Scott. That's not true.
Maybe my memory is failing me on that, but I've got some painful,
No.
experiences with.
Scott, the biggest
yeah.
challenge with the budget is $11.5 million worth of labor costs of employees.
That's a big part of it. It's a
A big part of it, it's half, it's over half.
It's half.
Okay, I got a question,
It's half.
okay, I got a question on our schedule here. What do we need to do to be ready for August 18th to approve the first public budget hearing?
Well, we just need to talk about the cost of living adjustment, if you guys want to do that or not, right? And I think we ought to go in the council needs to give it a look at their own appropriations. And I would like to have a conversation with, because I've got you and I'd like to sit down with the commission. And, another member of the finance committee wants to be part of that. That's fine. But I would like to talk to see if we can kind of say, how much do we realistically want to allocate every year on professional services?
Yeah, it's getting pretty big.
Yeah, there's 95,000. So,
This is an outlier year.
yeah, I know.
Our WIS is non-recurring.
But I'm 26, 27, 28. What do we, what's a good number that we should probably try to?
Half of what we're doing this year.
This year's, right, is an outlier. Right, no
It's an outlier.
question. Right, and and that's not the reason I'm bringing it up, because of that. But I'm just saying, we've got professional services, we got the legal, accounting, and.
Jim, the more we get a handle on the personnel policy, the more we get a handle on the budget, the less
Right.
of those expenses you're gonna
Good
need.
to see, right. So, well, but my point is we got, I think, $500,000 allocated. Okay, we got 300 and some odd thousand just in the council budget, which we don't need. Okay. We don't need that, we don't need that much in there. I mean, unless we want to.
No, not every year. We needed it this year.
If we
but
want to
not every year.
pigeonhole it, we can
What's the
pigeonhole
current
it.
attrition for us? Probably 120, 140?
But that's that right there.
At the moment, I
And
don't
maybe have a
know
conversation.
roughly. I'd have to
I
go
can't
look.
see
We ain't much
about
Well-
going forward and buying vehicles, how do we want to do
So
that?
Perlita taking money out of it,
Well, not
and
touching all
then
the
Reedy will be
bills, all the
taking
assets.
money out of
We're
it.
gonna list all that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we just
But
gotta
you know,
see
the other
what
issue
that-
is the whole
Yeah.
I don't know if we need
insurance.
150 to replace
Well,
it.
that's a big,
Right.
that's huge.
We've never reconciled
But next year, you won't
insurance.
you won't
Correct.
have
Well, you can
anything
if
you
you
have
don't
to pay
have
with.
assets.
Don't have what?
You won't be
Right,
paying,
right.
yeah. I mean, there'll be
Right,
things that
right.
you can take out of it next year.
Okay, so back to
Forward to
Not
that,
next year,
I don't-
but
I
the
think-
cost of living
27.
increase and
What's
the other
the-
factors affecting our immediate budget. Do we need to go talk to any particular departments that are way out of line, or are they justified from what your experience? I went through all the Form 1s too, and some people add their 3%.
We just needed a true up,
Right.
the true up the labor cost, true that up, and then we need to make a decision if you're gonna do any cost of living, right? The only other thing is, and I've talked to Brad already, is I wanna sit down and have a conversation with Brad about this stipend Department of Correction issue, okay?
Right.
So it's, because that when we did that, it's way too loosey-goosey, and we need to kinda make sure we're all on the same page.
The state paid that money.
Have we received any receivables from Department of Correction?
Still?
Nothing at all.
Said they were gonna change the new budget July 1st.
He said that they were gonna send us money, and they haven't sent us any money yet. Wow.
We should have already received it.
Sounds like they got 1,000 extra beds for.
How much we got laid in receivables from the Department of Corrections, you know, right off the top of your mind if you don't?
Nothing.
Right,
Nothing's-
No, how much do they owe us?
They owe us about 180,
That's what I
gosh.
thought it was 200.
Thought it was
Yeah, it's
Two,
like
like,
200 and some thousand. I
So you got
think.
200 grand in
Yeah.
receivables?
Yeah.
And we
Hey,
haven't
what's
received
the-
any of it.
Nothing, yeah.
The only money we received from them so far is $65,000.
Okay, well,
So
so,
we had.
And that's already been ate up way a long time ago.
Yeah, so we want to sit down with Brad and just have, you know, and, you know, have a conversation.
Yeah, and I will tell you what I did with his budgets. He had put their stipends in their pay. I removed their stipends from their pay and put it in a stipend line. Because once it's established in their pay,
right,
you weren't gonna have a choice but to pay it.
and that's why it's a stipend right now, because.
Exactly.
everything
So I
about
removed
that
it
is
from the
still up
pay
there
and
and
put it in a
uncertain.
stipend line.
So what's what, on the council's budget, I see a new expense, 132,000 for financial consultants. What's, is that just a new line or what's?
Reedy.
But I mean,
Hi,
why is
Jerry.
that new this year?
I didn't suggest it.
132,000 is kind of salty.
It's really.
Yeah, it is, we over, you know,
Well,
we,
it's Wiss
I'm
and
curious what it
Jerry
is.
and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
What do you mean, Wiss and Jerry, and what do you mean all that stuff?
Well, those two.
Those two.
We got Susan, Barnes and Thornburg, Reedy Financial, and WIS.
This says financial consultants.
Huh?
why do we have so many?
Legal.
It goes back to what Tim says, this is an outlier.
Reedy is a financial
Yeah,
consultant.
we're doing,
No,
we're
not
doing,
Next year we
we're
should.
doing a salary,
Yeah.
the salary study
And then
for
we had-
WIS,
He's
which
looking,
has been needed to be done
I
for
thought-
years, and it hasn't been done. so
I don't know what he, oh,
So that's WIS.
we don't have that,
Reedy.
or I don't
But
have
if we
that.
didn't have it last year,
Hey, are you passing out those financial
we
things that
moving
he's
it?
looking
No,
at?
we didn't have it last year. because-
I believe, didn't you have money in your auditor's budget for Greg Garitos?
I did, I had $33,000 in my budget for FSG that which went to Reedy, which is now zero.
Right?
So is that included in what,
So that shifted, right? You shifted a line item out of her budget, put it in your budget, because that's
so
where
we
it
took
should
30
be.
from where it was, and put up, so that's 30 of it, and then the other 100, where did that come? That's the WIS, which is how much?
That was-
95,000 this
So
year.
the rest of it's all WIS.
But next year, the WIS should be.
Yeah, you should be gone.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should be out of
26
there.
request, though,
Huh?
For 132,000.
Yeah.
that's where we start, don't cut it.
So where did it,
We haven't cut it yet.
Yeah.
yet?
Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah,
it's
that's
not
part of-
valid, it's
part
not
of the-
accurate.
No, it's not.
It's been advertised, but then we can cut it out.
Okay.
We're probably not
It's,
gonna.
we advertise high, and then we cut down to where we need to be, and then DLGF comes in and says, no, you can't have any of that, here's your 1782. Did I summarize it pretty well?
Yeah.
Very
And then we
simplified.
went 10,000 on professional services over the last
Oh,
year, or several years.
That's
What's
hilarious.
the additional 10 for professional services for the county council?
Probably.
Maybe, I don't know, I haven't seen your budget. Nobody
have
else is
to look
looking
at
at
your
the
budget,
binder that
too.
you're looking at.
Yeah, I don't know what budget what you're looking at.
30 grand a year, are you under, gonna be over that? Because we're
Oh, is
use
that-
you.
Is that,
Yeah, let me see
I
that.
just looked at that on my billing software. Right
That's
now,
not what
you're
I'm
at
talking about.
21,
Oh, is that it?
so.
Yeah, it's speaking, speaking of policies on legal services and WIS and all these other things, probably the council needs to have a policy,
Thank you.
a policy in place.
8.
Because Susan, let me ask you, if anyone on the council picks up the phone and calls you, just out of the blue, then if I were you, I would hit the meter and I would bill for that phone call.
If I remember to, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
All right.
correct.
Now, so should the, and again, I'm just asking a question. When we have professional service providers, shouldn't those, like, we got 7 in the board. If we all started calling Susan every day, for God's sakes, we'd end up with an $80,000 bill. All right,
that's why I
so.
don't call her outside.
I don't wanna say
Nothing
either.
personal.
So, so like with Susan, is that just Gary Hewitt, who's our president, has the exclusive?
Should be.
I think it should as well. So if
Yeah,
I
maybe
maybe
use for financial, but whatever.
yeah, you limit access to these professional service providers so that we don't pick up the phone and we're not using you like 1-800 tech support.
So we're already over
So
our policy services budget halfway through the year. $3,000 over our policy services budget halfway through the year, 48,000. Is that legal? Is that financial? Is that?
These are the numbers from one's crunch down.
I mean, we're already way over. I mean, it's halfway through the year.
Council, you mean?
Yeah, county council.
What page are you on for county council?
And this is where,
Never
like,
mind,
you
I'm just-
know those details on the report I mentioned I'd like to see earlier? This is where it starts to be impactful, because we can actually see what is happening. And as county council, I feel like we should be looking at that every single month. And so this is one of those examples. Our own budget, you know, we would never see this.
We saw it on the,
It's not on
on
there.
the summary, yeah.
No, it's not on there.
It is. It's not detailed, but that's the detail you
I
ask
mean,
for when you
The
see.
detail, it'll look similar to like this format with every line. You see it every month.
And it would say county council over budget on that line item.
give you one.
I mean, if it's overspent, it'll be red.
Show me where we would see that in the 3-page report. How that would show up.
It's your county council line that you have 42% of your budget remaining on the general report.
Julie, would you pull up that 3-page report that you had a second ago?
Gary had it.
Or is that Gary?
Yeah, it's not me.
Where'd Gary go?
He's right there.
Gary, would you pull up that 3-page report on our monthly report the council sees? I want to kind of just make sure this is the kind of thing that we want to be able to see, and if it's not reflected because it's a 10,000-foot view, it's one of those things that I'm wanting to be more aware of.
Hey, which part do you want?
County council. Show me what county council details.
Page 2.
Scroll down.
Page 2.
My fingers.
There you go. Whoa, whoa.
County council.
Oh, county council's
But
in
you're
great
not
shape,
gonna
we got
see
nothing to worry
that
about.
in this report either.
Except
You're
one
just
of our line
seeing
items
the
is
actual
overspent halfway through the year.
content.
A critical line item. This indicates no problem, and this is what we're gonna see, and this is exactly why I want more details.
So the question is, are you front-loaded on that line item?
Right.
Right, where it's the beginning of the year expense? Or number two, are you going to transfer within your budget and stay within your appropriation? Those are the two things to ask.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you look at when you get to the end of the year. Everybody is transferring to stay within their budget.
Yeah.
That's what you ask them to do.
This is mid-year. This is not end of the year, this is mid-year.
This is May here. We were at 72%.
Yeah, it looks great.
67% now.
So I think one of the things, and we don't have to recreate this wheel again, every county usually does this. You have a line, an expense line overage report that says, hey, we don't need every single expense line in the entire county. We say, hey, these expense lines are overspent. Every month, we should be seeing that as one example of detail that will help us manage our own budget, which we talk about self-responsibility. We don't even see our own budget, that's kind of a problem.
Okay, back to the issue of the impending September 18th. Where do we need to be? Do we need to go talk to some departments? What do we need to do? Is everybody in line? We're
Jerry, are
gonna
we
give them
going through
the
this?
cost of
Are
living
we going through
increase?
this at all?
We gotta get some hard stuff going on.
Doubt it.
Well, my feeling is on the cost of living, we're not gonna know until we go.
This is not gonna be
Where we're
going
at.
over to them.
So, I mean, just because some people asked for 3%, some people didn't, I think we decide.
Which where we're at. We'll just have
Well,
to-
This is
well,
basically
where we're
a
at
form
on
line.
with
Right.
the the whole listing, what we decide we're going to do.
If I didn't, let me know and I can send them if you want them.
I don't know that we
No,
can
like, I
decide
like
whether we're gonna
this.
give
Yeah.
them 3%.
So, okay, she won't have that until probably
I actually like this.
October.
Then we don't do it, no 3%.
Well, I was gonna just say, I don't, yeah, so just because some people ask, you know, we don't have to say, yeah, we're gonna give you 3%. And some people didn't, I mean, we don't, if we don't
Because if
know,
they
we
come-
don't know.
If she comes to your point, because I'm in agreement with you, if they come back and we do this, comparison, and we plug everybody where they're supposed to be
Yeah,
paid,
take me back
and
down.
now all of a sudden our labor costs go up 12%?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a big unknown out there.
These aren't
So because of that unknown, I
Actual.
feel more comfortable just to sit tight and no COLA for next year.
And in reality, some of that
Okay,
3%
so that
maybe
is
that's
the
showing up in there. anyway.
Advertised budget.
Yeah.
Right,
And
they
then
may
this is the
very well
other.
likely, yeah, because the other part of it was interesting.
So we would,
So
We did that
proposed
labor
adoption
study,
budget
you know, because
is
you were there with me
the
for a day, we
actual
worked on that.
Form ones
What's
are,
interesting, when you start
they
looking at the pay
advertise.
grades and just kind of.
those are what the Form ones say.
A lot of eights, there's a lot of nines, and there's some 11s in there, there's some 14s, and then you get in that 15, 16. But out of 35 members, there's only maybe a half a dozen being used all the time.
Right, and if
So-
WIS does have an integral 3%, a quote equivalent, then we're going 3% on top of that, so it's probably wise to sit.
I would sit and not do anything until, and I agree with Judy, to just don't do anything until, because Jerry and Susan, we as a council, if we, on this Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy thing, does that need to be done before the salary ordinance is passed? Whatever decision the
And the
council makes.
restructuring of our salary
Restructuring
grades.
compensation.
Probably does, doesn't it?
That needs to be done before the salary ordinance. Now,
Oh, yeah.
hypothetical, let's say
There's a
we
special
pass the
session.
salary ordinance as it is based on what we know to be true.
Yeah.
And then after the salary ordinance, we work with WIS, and all of a sudden we're gonna go, okay, we're gonna make changes.
Then you have
Can
to,
we legally then go in and amend the
Yes.
salary ordinance?
Yes.
Creates a lot
It's
of
all
work.
throughout the year.
Yeah, right. That one would be a lot of work. Generally speaking, when you amend the salary ordinance, you're amending one position or two positions, and it's not a lot of work that goes into it,
Yeah.
right? So that happens. Like, I think Jackson County's on salary ordinance E right now. So, right? 5 times.
Yeah.
We've passed it, and then we've amended it 4 times. So, so generally speaking, your changes in a salary ordinance during the year, which is what the auditor relies on in order to pay people, right? She has to pay according to the salary ordinance. It are small changes, right? Small amendments. This situation, if we pass a salary ordinance now, based upon how you are structured now, and WIS comes back with their report and wants to change that, right? Take these down in terms of pay grades, the number of pay grades that you have, and now we're gonna put ranges in here. That's a bigger change to your salary ordinance, right? So it's gonna have to get explained to people. But it can happen. It can happen at any time.
Change the salary or any of the elected
So-
officials cannot be
so
changed
Susan-
at the beginning of the year.
Right, elected officials, correct.
Susan and Julie, because as I continue to learn, with $11.5 million in labor cost and employee benefits, to me, the big check, probably the really most important document is the salary ordinance. I mean, I get the budget part, right?
Yeah,
But it's really the salary ordinance. It's real important.
yeah,
Now, it was, we threw out an artificial deadline of September and October, right?
Yep.
Okay. Is there a drop dead date with the salary ordinance that we really ought to have?
December
to get that
1st.
Passed by?
Or December,
December 31, we
So that's
absolutely
back,
want
we don't
to.
wanna do it.
It has to be done by
I don't wanna do
December.
that.
Right.
But we could potentially pass it in November.
yes.
Okay, which hopefully would give us enough time in October and November, right, to get with WIS, to really get this issue resolved. And then when we pass the salary ordinance, in that salary ordinance,
Which I'd rather
that will be
do
the final document
than
for
having to redo
2026.
it again.
Yeah,
Right.
In theory.
yeah, in theory, yes.
It'll be the final document, so we have to change it.
Yeah, but the
In theory,
question
yes.
is, how does it relate to our budget that went in October? It's gotta fit into that, right?
Yeah, and that's
Well,
where
we gotta
have to-
be
that's
high
where we have to
enough,
tweak
right?
it.
We gotta be high
to-
enough. And what we do today, do we bump it? Did you bump it 3%, $250,000?
Well, yes,
Yeah.
general fund, yeah.
Yeah, we're advertising high.
Okay, 'cause I'm just thinking out loud here for a minute. Basically, we got 10 million in expenses on general fund. Not all labor costs come out of the general fund, but bulk of them come out of the general fund, right? So it's really gonna hit the general fund. So we're writing a little bit, we're at a push. So hopefully we got enough revenue. Hopefully we're in the black revenue versus
Advertise the salary
expenses for
ordinance
26, right?
Later.
So if we go in and we bumped it $250,000, do we bump that for the advertising? Do we step that up 6%, go do another, do it $500,000 just to be safe on the labor cost side?
You can.
Yeah.
Because that's
and-
just being
For
safe.
the WIS, you're saying?
Yeah, just to keep it, yeah, because what we're saying is we gotta make sure we got enough money in the hopper that's allocated to all those line items for those 180 employees, right? And then, because we gotta have the flexibility,
Any harm?
if we shift it.
To advertise high?
That was part of adding the 3%.
Yeah, but do we need to just protect
You
ourselves?
want another bumper on top of that.
I'm thinking maybe.
Okay, so he
Just
says there's
say-
no harm in doing it, so let's do
Yeah, no
it.
harm in doing it.
Instead of 250, we go to 5?
Yeah, you can do that, yeah.
Yeah, let's.
It's not gonna hurt anything to
Let's throw,
advertise
let's
high,
total
doesn't
half
mean
million,
that's what your job
600,000, yeah,
Fine.
yeah.
Another item, these people out there in the departments are wondering, okay, they submitted their budgets, we told them 97%. I didn't think that when I went through it, most of them don't go to 97%, a few did. So they may be sitting out there wondering, well, okay, are we gonna get back with them on this? What do we need to do in that respect?
What's your question again? You missed me on that. Is-
Well, okay, we used to have the budget review. There was some give feedback. They all wondered, okay, we didn't do that. Do we need to give them feedback in some manner based on where we're at now? I mean, we asked them to give us 97%. Some of them didn't give us 97%.
It was 95.
95%.
95, I'm sorry.
And that was-
Yeah, I'm thinking 3%, 3% tax.
Some of them look at you like you're nuts.
Increase. Whatever. Do we need, PR wise, they may be sitting there thinking, okay, these guys are having a big work session. Are they gonna come back at me for my budget?
Here's
What do
what I
we
would
need,
like
where do we need to be?
Here's what I'd like to see, and what I think kind of minimum is asking for a verbal or written report from any department heads that are asking for new staff, increases in wages, stipends, et cetera, okay? But those are kind of shifts that,
Well, we got
you
that from the
know,
judge and from the
I
surveyor.
asked my liaison.
Were you at
to
the last
judge
meeting?
To provide a written document, she's done
I
that.
didn't think
It's gonna
so.
work really well. So I think if we ask for those, either written or verbally, if we haven't heard from them yet, or don't have that document yet, the council has the written from the judges, which is nothing, there's no request there. So, new positions, new pay, we want to know what's happening there, right? Is there a critical need? If not, we're going to make a decision, yes or no. Capital expenses, I see capital expenses, I think from Jim's report, he separated capital out, or no, maybe it was in the Form 1. But we see capital expenses, but there's no detail or description on what it's for, which is kind of, we want to know, right? If we're going to approve a capital expense of X thousand, well, I think typically we would want to know what that is, right? Is it something that's critical? Have the commissioners reviewed that, prioritized it, limited funding, or is it a, you know, most department heads are asking for things they don't really need, but I think we need to know what that is. So to be written or verbal, you know, what is it? Especially if it's over $5,000, $10,000 and it's a one-time expense. I mentioned pay increases. I also think our large departments, we want to hear from them, give them an opportunity to talk to us and brief us on their budgets. Sheriff, commissioners, and highway, I mean, those are our major, right, departments that have hundreds of thousands of dollars flowing, like big time, and we know we have challenges. We want to be aware and abreast of their concerns. I mentioned the sheriff did not appear to ask for a salary increase. He's been pounding on our door for months about critical needs there. I want to make sure we are aware of what's happening. I think part of it is he's just afraid to ask. He was told not to ask for anything more, but we should be hearing from them, right, and listening to
You
them.
two guys are talking to them, aren't you?
I've talked to them.
Julie, didn't you say the state of Indiana didn't give nobody a?
Yeah, he's based on the actual
he's fixed.
state,
Well,
what the
the
prosecutor gets. No, the sheriff's whole sheriff, all of them.
We locked them all into that figure.
Yes,
Right, as an
and
ordinance.
they got no raises this year.
Okay, that's the first I've heard that. It's
Yeah,
good to know.
they got no
Those are the kind of
raises.
things we need to know and hear and just, there may be pressures, you may recall a lot, yeah, to just, you know, I think those are kind of basic pieces of major information that we are making decisions on, that we just need to have a little bit more information, verbal or in writing. If you don't want to see them, you don't want to talk to them, let's ask them to provide a written something. That's my thought. That's kind of how we typically do it. It's where the major focus of our budget review usually is, in those kind of areas. Lots of discussion. Do we need a new coroner's position? Do we need a new vehicle? You know, I want that conversation to occur. I don't think it's our intention to not have that conversation. So we got to facilitate that conversation in a way that's helpful,
A new
right?
coroner's position.
I heard, Jim, I think you were saying the coroner wants a new vehicle, or I'm sorry, vehicle. And then somebody else wants a position, there's a new EMA position.
Yeah, it's right on the Form 1.
Yeah, so new
If you read the
positions.
Form 1, you'll see it right.
So new positions, we want to hear from those people, and we need to make a decision, right? If there's a critical need that Because right now, we don't really have anything other than a number on a page and a position.
And I thought we had decided that we were gonna be hiring new people, but
We weren't.
that's what I thought we decided, new positions.
Well, furthermore, we sent out a letter.
Well, she's replacing people, I'm talking about adding new people.
We sent out a memo. You did.
Yeah, a couple months ago.
April, May, somewhere, right? And we voted on this and keep the budgets at 95% of the 2025 budget.
Or less, and
Because you're the one that
5%
said-
less.
Yeah, you're the one that brought 95, so we did the 95. So to me, you know, some of them are over, not a lot, I've got it, I mean, I think I said it to you guys. And everybody's plus or minus a little bit, it's not a big amount of money. But to me, hiring new staff,
That was my understanding
You don't get
a long time ago.
except
We
for,
were replacing people.
we discussed the auditors.
So I just think people need pay raises, they're asking for increases. I don't want to just shut them off and say, we don't want to see you, we don't want to talk to you. I mean,
No, we don't wanna do that.
I don't understand why we would do that. It seems like we're
Well, I
not
guess
being
I don't, Gary,
informed.
do people, department heads, you're the president, do you get a lot of phone calls from the various department heads?
No, we gotta ask Julie, what?
I do.
Okay, so what's your feedback on what we need to do?
Why
in
are
that
they
respect?
calling you, Julie?
Because I'm the auditor.
Yeah, it's
They
easier to call
think I
rather
should
than
know what
call.
you guys are saying,
Okay,
which
well,
I
time out.
do,
Let's-
but-
Let's pause here for a minute, because to me, that's the issue, okay?
Mhm.
Because to me, you're the auditor,
Mhm.
so your job is to audit.
Mhm.
Okay, you're not the council, right? So when it comes to appropriations, line items, this whole subject matter, that's not your responsibility, is it?
technically
Kind
no.
of,
And
okay.
yes,
But she knows what's going on.
Yes,
Government
and no.
documents, is that your responsibility?
I didn't hear you.
Okay, when it comes to department budgets and the line items within those departments for those expenses, who has the, per state statute, who has the authority to oversee those appropriations?
You do.
Okay,
Council does.
right. So therefore, when you get a county council question coming to you, okay, I guess my question to you is, why wouldn't you deflect and say, that's a county council question, you're gonna need to speak to Gary Hewitt?
You got something, Susan?
But it's just the nature of it.
I understand that, but if you don't
That's all
have
it
any
is.
policy and we don't have any boundaries.
Well, I mean, it really is. She's trying to be helpful to departments, so she's gonna try to answer the question if you guys have
Exactly.
talked about it in here. That's the only
She
answer
is
to
the
that
essential
question.
liaison
Yeah,
between
she
us.
is.
and-
Right,
Yes.
but here's the thing, you guys all took departments at the beginning of this year, and I thought the
understand.
whole point of that was
Right.
you were gonna go and talk to them about their budgets
I did.
Thank you very
and
much.
bring that back to you all.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Right,
That's
wasn't
what I'm
that it?
saying. Who do we need to go back to? We talked about going back to say 2 or 3 people, just go say, hey, here's what we're looking at your budget and here's where it's out of line or whatever. Or can you justify this? So do we need to do that is the question.
Let me ask Julie. I mean,
Anything jump out of that? Do you getting any feedback that people
Yeah.
in general
They
curious? but-
want to talk to the council.
Who's they?
The department heads want to
All of
talk to
them?
the council.
All of them?
Okay,
That's what I'm hearing,
All
yes.
right,
They
then
want to,
fine. Do 2 days, they're so used,
Yeah,
this county is so used to, because.
I
you
don't
guys have done it
necessarily know.
For thousands of years.
Calm down, dude.
She's not that old yet, my God, that is just
So,
Just,
do a 2-day dog and pony show where every
Okay.
department head gets to come before.
I
the
don't know
council.
if they want to talk to you individually, like you already planned, or if they just want to talk to the council, all of
Okay.
you.
Because I've talked
How
to my
about this,
department.
Gary, you're the president.
Okay,
Pick up the phone and you personally call every department head in the county.
but that's defeating our liaison.
I've already talked to
that we
mine.
said in. No, let's do the liaison group, whomever you're responsible for, just talk to them, touch base with them, say, okay. And if you want one or two of the others of us to go with, call me or whatever.
I mean, I think they just want a chance to be heard of
Yeah,
why
that's
they
fair.
want this
That's
stuff.
fair.
That's right.
I mean-
The purpose was to be more
Right.
attentive to them on a personal basis rather than a group, and some of them were intimidated to come before us, I've heard that.
Now, do they have our mobile numbers? Do these people have our contact information where they know how to actually get hold of us?
we're asking ourselves this question 30 days before the budget's due, people.
So,
It's kind of a problem.
so,
Should have brought it up.
I have.
should have, but it's not brought up, we're doing it.
I brought it
So
up
first of all,
last
do they have?
All right, fine, good, but we're gonna go ahead with it, we
So
are
do we
perfect,
have-
so what?
I know, let's fix
Should
it.
we put, do we have on our website, which I don't think we do?
Our numbers?
Yeah, our mobile numbers. Our mobile
Do
number.
you want your,
Yeah, I don't care.
That's
Okay.
probably not.
I don't
Fix it.
If I don't wanna talk to them, I won't talk to them.
Aren't we supposed to be contacting them?
I get the,
yes,
I mean, isn't that our job as
I-
liaison?
Yes.
I've already done mine.
I've done mine.
And
Several times.
All right, so let's go and go back and talk to them, and if we, apparently here, we haven't just exposed anything that's really way out of line.
there isn't anything way
It's
out.
not that it's way of life.
So talk to them
It's
and say,
just
okay,
different.
it looks reasonable, we're talking about, well, we don't know about the 3%,
like
we
you
gotta
said, they
wait for
just want
which.
to be heard.
And
Can I ask each of you?
Personal
as you
service.
do your liaison calls. If they have a new staff request, a pay increase, a new stipend, a capital expense, or other increases, you know, or that they were unable to decrease by 5%, just ask them why,
That's what
And
should be
report
discussed at
back
the
to
meetings,
council.
once you find out.
what that is. If we want to do it that way, I think it's easier to kind of do it a different way. That's like, but what I don't want to see, Gary, is every one of us having to call every department head when we have every
they're
question.
liaisons, they're
It's like,
signed.
so, but it's, you know, we're getting closer here on time, and so we need to streamline this and say,
Well,
hey,
here's one step,
you know,
one step that's missing from that. I've talked to the clerk, any problem with the budget? No? Okay. Does anybody else here have a problem with the clerk's budget?
That's
We
what we
haven't
just-
sat as a group or a body and looked at all the Form 1s as a group of bodies.
Right.
And discussed whether
That,
any
that's
of the
what I'm
seven
waiting
of
for
us.
us to do.
And so I don't have anything to take to my departments yet, because I haven't heard anything from anybody else on council,
Right.
whether they've got a problem with it, because we haven't discussed that.
I thought that's the step that I think we need.
And that's the
we
step
need-
I was waiting for,
Me
and
too.
that's the
I
step
think
we
that's the
need.
step.
Does everybody here have all the Form 1s?
They should have,
Huh?
they should
I
have.
thought you sent them out.
I sent every one of you.
All right,
But we
so everyone,
still haven't discussed
No, no,
it.
no. Every one of you have the Form 1s. Everyone, because you have the Form 1s, that every one of you have the right to open up those PDFs and review every one of those departments, every one of those Form
Or at
1s.
least your own.
And if you have issues, if you all have issues with the department's Form 1, then I suggest that you bring it up to the council and then we
Right,
discuss
and
it.
that, but I guess what I've been waiting for is, as he said, I thought that we would discuss this at a group meeting, or the Form 1 as a whole, not necessarily with the department heads, but as a whole. Maybe I have a question about, you know, Julie's office or somebody's office that somebody else doesn't have a question with, but we can sit down as a
Well, that's
group
fair, I
and
mean, I don't
discuss
have a
it.
problem with that.
So that we,
Yeah, and we haven't, so I, you know.
that's
So do we
where,
have another council meeting?
And we should have another meeting.
I think
We
we should have another
should have another 3-hour meeting next week.
That's fine.
All right, we up for that? We up for that? Any problems? Do we have to advertise?
so now we need to,
Form 1.
I need to clear my
Physical
schedule
copy of the
unexpectedly for
Form
next
1s,
week.
we all discussed
We're gonna have to
it. I don't know if we-
fine.
So what day would you like me to clear my schedule for now?
No, only in the morning, only in the morning.
Oh, 6 a.m. or?
You know what? I've got every one of them right there. All organized.
I do too.
Every one of them.
Okay, I mean, I went through them, you have an option to go through them, I've gone through them, so Jim and I worked through some of the salary portion of
And I've
it.
been through the numbers.
Probably still do public hearing and then adopt
That
it
there's.
You haven't stopped, you can go through it.
to a later date.
Okay, then they can make a big phone call.
It's like a lot of those, like,
Okay, everybody, we're gonna have a special session next week, we'll do it Thursday? Let's do it
Yeah,
Thursday.
sure, why not?
I can't do it Thursday, I got 2 other
let's help,
meetings.
you're gonna have to reschedule your meetings like I'm going to, Gary, I saw this coming, you want to do it this way, so you're
I
actually
can't do it
working
the
with the team.
14th, I have, I'm,
Oh, no, I could do it the 14th, you can't? Which morning's good for everybody?
Hang on now, let me get my calendar.
Tuesday?
Hang on a second.
You're talking next week?
Sure.
Yeah, if we're gonna do it, let's just get it done.
I'm gonna be busy, I've got
worm the dog.
Well, would you stop?
I can Tuesday.
You don't worm your own dog.
That dog has been dewormed 16 times already, Joe.
I can do Tuesday the 12th.
In the morning, 9 to 12. I can do
Tuesday, 9 to 12.
Tuesday
That's
to
all we
12.
got, okay? Let's do it.
So that it's written
And
so that
each person liaison, look at your Form 1s. If you have questions, call a person, bring it to us, and we'll talk about it.
So,
That's the way it goes, personal service.
Do,
it's your own risk.
so with, it just seems rushed. I mean, do we still feel like we're able to hit like any of these, deadlines? Obviously, because there is an option to push the meetings back just what, like, you could have the public hearing in September, adoption in October. I just want to make sure, because you guys, it doesn't seem like everybody's entirely agreeing and on the same page.
Let's do this.
I don't want to miss it.
To take it on, okay, we had an arbitrary deadline of September and October. It appears the arbitrary deadline needs to be moved to October and November to give us some more breathing room. So the budget gets passed in October and the salary ordinance gets passed in November, okay? You got a 30-day extension on both.
Is that reasonable? Jerry?
Maybe reasonable, but it's still disappointing.
I don't know if we need that.
Well, I'm just going by, piggybacking off what you said.
I mean, the amount of work that you guys, it's gonna be the same amount of work whether or not you do it like spread out versus, because it's gonna hit your regular scheduled meetings. It's not gonna be any additional meeting. And it's just the legal process, obviously, to get it approved. So if you could push it back, you at least give yourself more time to make,
So are you advocating that we probably push it back 30 days?
I would feel more comfortable. I don't want to miss anything.
Okay,
And
so
if you guys want to hear from department heads, which I think is a great idea, I feel like they need to be heard. I'd feel more comfortable. I just didn't know the reasoning to begin with, like, as far as moving it up a month or like earlier. I didn't know the reason behind that.
Well, one of the reasons is that we've been 6 months into for example, we passed salary ordinances that are second and third quarter for the following year. All right? So we've been real targeted.
So,
We'll get the
So-
advertising done and
Okay,
right.
then the other.
okay, talk to your departments between now and Tuesday. If they even want to come to the meeting, if we feel that's necessary, they can come on Tuesday.
I just don't know.
All right,
So next
otherwise,
Tuesday night,
represent them as you need to.
Hold on.
Okay, I
So-
don't talk very much, but you're gonna listen to this because apparently I missed this damn meeting where you assigned everybody somebody to call on. And I have Parks and Rec, Purdue Extension, and the coroner. And that's all the information I've got. What was I supposed to do? Just go contact them, say, hi, I'm Joe, or what? Did you go over all that?
That's your.
No, we didn't go over that. That's what's forming here, that's part of this is.
It's kind of
Some of us know
loosely-
basically what you go in and say, what's your budget issue? Did you hit 95%? Blah, blah, blah. That was the issues of what the parameters they're looking at.
And
They were notified too, right?
you,
I'm.
yes.
They were sent letters.
Yes.
Sent a letter.
You just go in, introduce yourself, you're their liaison.
That's all you do.
If they have any
Introduce
problems or
yourself.
Well,
issues,
that's what I thought,
they
but
can
it doesn't
contact
sound
you.
like-
You and I can go, I'll go with you.
Well, I'm not afraid to go see any of these
No,
people.
no,
I'm
it's
just
no
saying,
problem.
what is my responsibility and what am I supposed to do?
Joe, if I were
Because
you,
I
yeah.
went to Purdue Extension. Good chance they're not even gonna be here anymore. Purdue's getting ready to move out.
Kidding me?
No,
What?
they're desperate. They defunded their people. They've only got a couple of people in the office now.
Yeah,
That was my first exposure.
Can you dig into that and let us know what's going on there? 'Cause that's concerning.
Well, yeah, it is. And they're, matter of fact, their key people are gone and they've got some of their office help doing the key jobs.
yes.
Can you update us at our next meeting? Joel, if I were you.
Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Oh, I totally do. Yeah,
That's
so
good.
you feel a little
That's
behind the
exactly
ball.
what you're supposed to
Yeah.
do.
No, that's exactly it, but here's what I would do if I were you. And if they need something, capital expenses or staff, make sure they describe it to you and let us know what that is so we can decide yes or no, right? Pay increases and all that stuff. I mean, just unusual things outside of their normal budget. And then if they couldn't decrease 5%, just have them tell you why. It's okay. Most of these are staff heavy. Like, I talked to the judge, my suggestion of 5% decrease was just general, right? Some departments, it's impossible for them to do that. She's got all staff in her office, so, you can't reduce 5%, it's impossible, right? And so just have them tell you, Judge did a great job writing the council a letter, thought it answers all those questions. If you feel, Joel, that a letter from them would be better, and it very well may be, like, just ask them to do that, to council.
Okay. For instance, I've also got the coroner, I have not talked to him, but Jim has.
I talked to him last year, so.
Last year?
Just stay out of the cooler.
Yeah.
The commissioners already got it.
Where's that commissioners? Okay.
I didn't have a
Commissioners
time
already
frame.
paid, they were.
They got it.
But this is something I need to be doing pretty quick.
So
It's urgent.
if we are changing the date, I mean, some of these,
I know, I gotta clear this up here.
Got it.
some of these people are only.
Yeah, find out how old his car is and, all those things.
All right, so real quick, back to the Susan,
Yeah, so
Thank you for your attention, I appreciate it.
I want to kind of clear up, for both me and Jerry and Julie, like, what we are doing. Okay. Sounds like you guys are gonna open up time on Tuesday. We need to advertise for a special meeting where department heads and elected officials can come in and address the council on their budget. Correct? 9 to 12 on
Can
Tuesday.
we pause for a second right there? I don't like quick turnarounds on meetings and short notices. We're asking every department head in the county, including the sheriff, prosecutor, judge. I know for a fact, Tuesday is terrible for a couple of those folks. Like, we're gonna pull them out of the courtroom to be here. Like, this is not
No,
good.
they're invited to show up, they're not required to show up.
I'm just saying, this is kind of hard ass.
Time out.
Yeah, last
Time out.
minute.
This started, I think you recommended it or somebody.
To just talk
This
about
was
the budget.
specifically for us as the council body to go through the Form 1s and discuss them.
Right.
This is not
initially-
elected,
This was
okay.
It's not-
initially
not
started
getting
out
the
for
elected
this.
I open it up to that, so we can shut that part
It's
down.
open to the
Well,
department
wait a
heads if they
minute.
want, hold on, if they want to view,
It's
if they
hard.
want, if they want to witness and watch it.
First of all, it's a public meeting, so anybody can show up, okay? So we can't keep anybody from that. Number one. Number two, it's hard enough with, how many we got rankings to? We got 7 people, 7 of us, and we're darting all over the board, right? And we're like playing a basketball game. Okay, one guy's running down the other end, the other guy's running down the other end, right? So it's hard enough for us to stay focused, to go through 30 different Form 1s, right, in a 3-hour time frame.
Right.
So,
Well,
I could go through this book.
so, okay, then you're saying we go through the Form 1s, we don't necessarily bring them into it.
Right.
And we make a list of questions we have,
Yeah.
and then the proper person goes and talks.
correct.
These are actually,
Okay, that's better.
What Susan was saying is we
These are good
advertise, it's open to department heads.
But-
We take no input from the department heads. It is a strict, as you
Yes.
have said, it's strictly a
We do that.
council meeting. We're the only ones talking, we're the only ones addressing anything. If, after the meeting, we have a problem with the Form 1, we each get with our
Right,
assigned
Right.
department to discuss what any of us have brought up as an issue.
right.
We
We
will,
don't need to interact during that meeting with the
Do
department,
we-
but they're still invited to come in and see what we're doing.
Okay, okay. So then, are we still holding a public hearing in August on your budget? Or are we pushing
still
that
doing it?
back to
Yeah.
September?
Boy, that,
I'd like to listen to Jerry. He thinks we're
probably ought to push it back to September. Because we don't know what's gonna come out of next Tuesday's meeting.
Okay,
If something comes out of that meeting, we're way too close to the August meeting.
okay. So Jerry and Julie are going to advertise the budget at what you guys have said today with a public hearing in September.
Correct.
Okay,
Well, we won't have to do it yet.
yeah, right.
So luckily.
That pushes your advertisement back.
no, but I have to let the other people know that are doing this with us, that they are, the dates and everything have changed again.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Who
So,
does that involve?
Solid Waste and Hamlin Fire District.
Okay.
that's okay. So, then, right, your budget has to be adopted by October 15th. Your regular council meeting is October 20th.
Yeah.
You have your special council meeting for October
Third,
3rd. Thank you.
no, not third.
2nd, October 2nd.
Yeah.
Right? That's this first
Yeah.
Thursday meeting. Do you want that October 2nd to be your budget adoption date?
That's AIC. No, I mean, fall conference, October 2nd.
She's right.
Yeah, it is.
Be here.
No, fall
Isn't it
conference.
October 15th? It's not October 15th.
It is
Oh,
first
is it no?
and
Okay,
second.
sorry. Jerry's correcting me.
Oh, I do see it. Yeah, you're right.
Hang on.
Oh, geez, that is right.
Jerry's correcting me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My understanding was and I was just making sure with all the bill changes and
I know.
things, but that the deadline to adopt was November 1st, so you could still hit your regular
Your
schedule.
Yeah,
regular
that's what
date.
we usually been doing.
Okay.
But this does bring up the fact that our second, October 2nd meeting is conflict with the AIC. So we either move it to Friday or the next week.
Adoption,
So we'll be back on that Thursday.
October 20th.
Yeah, still want to say, yeah.
So can we move it to Friday? Instead of that Thursday, do it
After
Friday?
being out
It's a whole
4
week
days,
of meetings.
that's a bad.
It's a whole week of meetings.
Oh, come on, we don't do
No,
anything
I
with
don't
the
wanna do it on
AIC thing
Friday.
anyway, except eat too much food.
Yeah, right.
Who wants to do it Friday or the next week?
Actually, it's Friday, it puts it right. at
So
the end of
October
the
20th is
meeting, when
adoption.
People are going to that
Yes.
and kind of bring back information.
Public hearing
might
September.
be good.
September
15th.
15th will be
That's
the
my birthday.
Huh?
Did you say October
Lucky you.
the 18th?
No,
publishing is September
October the
15th.
3rd.
We're
Well,
talking
no,
about
you'll back up.
possibility
That's
the
his
8th and
birthday.
October the 3rd
So,
for our special meeting.
public hearing, you'll
Let's
have
do
to
it
back up.
October 3rd, 9 to 12.
10 days.
Is that
Days.
right?
And what are we doing?
Fifth
What
at the
exactly are we
latest.
doing?
That's our typical
That's our
work,
work session.
monthly work
And
So
session.
like right after.
To advertise, yeah, to publish.
Well, if we don't have anything accomplished, we'll cancel.
You gotta
If we have
pay
to
attention to your
accomplish something,
vacation
we will.
dates.
No, we're not gonna just set a meeting with no
But to
idea.
go
Well, we
forward.
We have a work
with
session
the
every week,
meeting.
because
Oh,
we
it's
gotta
only
try and get
Monday.
ahead of this.
It's
The whole
October.
other emphasis is we can start working on the 27 budget policies to be in place.
Hey, Jerry, is there something we should talk about on October 3rd when we meet in 3 hours?
It's 2 months out, something's gonna come up.
It's just prior to our budget approval date.
So that is now
So
October
we'll need
3rd.
to advertise the third
And
one.
WIS members showing up around.
Adopt it on the 3rd and
Right,
then
yeah, we gotta discuss that, that's a good point.
Is that like
They're not
Yeah.
adopting it.
That's a new work session we're
This work
scheduling right
session is
now.
moving from Thursday
Right.
to
to
Friday.
Friday.
No, it's not a new work session.
It's actually
Thursday
very-
work
right.
session.
Oh,
Adopting it.
We could
It's a Thursday to Friday.
What we could do on that special session in October,
I mean, as far as.
Thursday, Monday,
Is-
to Friday.
we sit down and we go through the entire employee labor cost.
Yeah,
And go through and we discuss that.
that'd be great.
To try to get lined up, prepared for WIS, if WIS hasn't already been here yet.
Yeah, one side or the other, we can do it.
Because we can spend easy 3 hours walking through
Oh, yeah.
the labor, just labor cost
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah,
Wish I could
Okay.
get surprised.
We could stay here
But I'm not.
6, 7, 8 more hours beyond noon discussing.
You don't want to, but they've already got 18 hours, probably wrapping it up.
Yeah.
all right, so we're good on the 3rd.
Yeah.
All right, so
A little bit, yeah.
I'll let you do it.
Anything else we need to cover here before we leave?
Three's that kind of.
Susan, are you good with us?
I am good. I'm advertising for Tuesday,
Okay.
9 to noon.
And you know the
The
next
12th.
one is gonna be October 3rd, not October 2nd, just
Correct.
so we know.
She's
Yeah, so that's next
fixing
week.
that.
That's
Yep.
this Tuesday, the 12th.
Tuesday the 12th.
Tuesday, 9 to 12. Form ones.
Yes.
So yeah, this one's all about the budget review, which, can we say we're gonna review this is Reedy's document on all the Form 1s.
So Jerry, we got
right?
time to do
Read
this.
it, memorize it before
This is
Tuesday.
what we
More time.
are reviewing, right?
No, we're going through the Form 1s.
Yeah, that's what this is.
Yeah, we're gonna actually have the physical Form 1s.
Oh,
Yeah, I got them right here. I've got all of them right here. We're gonna have them up on the
I
screen
got
like
one
this.
right now, every Form 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the Form ones. We're gonna go right
We are
through it,
physically
line
going to
by
walk
line.
through every Form 1.
And so,
Right, just like this. Okay, council's done. Next.
Yep. No, he is.
I was in here till 8:17.
All right.
And then we are moving the public hearing back to the September 15th.
Yep, back to October 20th, September 15th.
thank you.
How many people did we have?
wish we could pull those right.
So Gary, for my edification here, because there's so much confusion, next Tuesday, 9 o'clock.
Yep, be there.
There's so much goes on, no wonder there's so much confusion.
No, this, the form was, this is
Well, I
professional.
don't care about that, I just want to know when to be here. Because we'll change when we're here on Tuesday, we'll change whatever we're doing 1,000 times.
Well, we're trying to get ahead of it, we're trying to
I
put
know.
extra effort into it, to
I'm
try
not
to move
being
it that
critical, I just want to know what day
Yeah.
to be here.
way. We're moving from reactive to proactive, and it's taking a lot of effort.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Are we
Okay. We are finished, are we not?
adjourning?
It looks like it.
We adjourn.
Okay.
This will be about.
Sorry, Joel, you gotta go do work with the dog now.
4-1.